Chapter 2864 Pursuit Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M. Lise Lu Ming's long spear pierced through the gold planet devourer's carapace, all the way to the handle. A powerful divine power rushed out madly and exploded in the gold planet devourer's body. Squeak. The gold planet devourer let out an ear-piercing shriek. It waved its two front claws wildly and slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. He could not be bothered to pull out his long spear. He retreated rapidly and avoided the attack of the golden planet devourer. Boom! Boom! The golden planet devourer went completely crazy. Its front claws slashed wildly, instantly destroying the green lotus sword domain. It then turned into a golden stream of light and fled into the distance. This beast has such a strong life force. Lu Ming was also shocked. Just now, his spear had pierced through his opponent's body, and his divine power had exploded from his body, but he had not been able to kill him. Lu Ming, are you going to give chase? Ouyang Qingxiang asked. Chase? Of course we're going after him, let's go, Lu Ming said. He moved and chased in the direction of the gold planet devourer. One gold planet devourer was worth 50 points. Now that the other party was seriously injured, this was a once-in-1,000 years opportunity. How could he miss it? If the golden planet devourer was in perfect condition, they would definitely not be able to kill it. Let's go. Ouyang Xiangxiang, Kang Chong, Lu Jia, and the rest also chased after Lu Ming. The two sides, one chasing and one fleeing, flew hundreds of thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique and was extremely fast. He was slowly closing the distance between him and the golden planet devourer. But at this moment, the golden planet devourer rushed into a hole on the ground and disappeared. Lu Ming's expression changed and he rushed into the cave. However, he had no choice but to stop. That was because the cave was densely packed and crisscrossed like a maze, and the golden planet devourer had disappeared without a trace. What a pity! Lu Ming sighed to himself. The other party had actually escaped and he had lost 50 points. Lu Ming flew out of the cave. Ouyang Qingxiang, Kang Chong, and Lu Jia chased after him. Lu Ming, how is it? Ouyang asked in a delicate voice. There are many other tunnels under this cave. The devourer has disappeared into the cave. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. It can't escape. At this moment, Lu Jia suddenly spoke. That's right. I was born with a star sky seal, and its greatest use is to track. When you were fighting, I secretly attached a star sky seal to the golden planet devourer. I can track its whereabouts with the star sky seal. Lu Jia said confidently. Really? Lu Ming was overjoyed. It's true. Lu Jia has indeed mastered the starry sky seal. Ouyang Qingxiang said. Alright, then we'll track him immediately. When his injuries recover, he'll be hard to deal with. Lu Ming said. Lu Jia nodded her head and began to perform the seal technique. On her body, starlight constantly shone, forming a mysterious rune. This was what Lu Jia had since she was born. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Indeed, there were all kinds of people in the chaotic universe. This way, let's go. After a while, Lu Jia spoke and flew in one direction. Everyone followed Lu Jia. They had been chasing for half a day before they finally stopped in the air above a dark crack. I can feel it. The gold planet devourer is right under this crack. Lu Jia said. Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the others sized up the crack. The crack wasn't wide and it was dark. He couldn't see what was below, but it was obvious that this crack was very deep. Why do I have a vague feeling of danger? Ouyang Xiangxiang frowned. I have the same feeling. I'm afraid there are other devourers down there. Lu Ming said. Then what should we do? Ouyang Qingxiang asked. Unknowingly, Ouyang Qingxiang had already paid more attention to Lu Ming's opinion. How about this, the two of us will go down, Kang Chong and Lu Jia will stay on top. Lu Ming said. He and Ouyang Xiangxiang were powerful and had many trump cards. If anything happened, they could save their lives. If Kang Chong and Lu Jia went down, they would be in danger. How can the two of us stay up there alone? We have to go down together. Not bad. Kang Chong and Lu Jia spoke one after another. They were very loyal to Ouyang Qingxiang. No need, you guys stay up there. Ouyang Xiangxiang waved her hand, cutting through metal and leaving no room for doubt. Kang Chong and Lu Jia could only nod in agreement. However, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang could not go down immediately. As Lu Ming had transformed into an ancient god body, he had used up a lot of energy and had not recovered yet. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the air. He took out a few divine pills and swallowed them. These divine pills could restore one's strength extremely quickly. If Lu Ming were to recover normally, he would need 2 days to recover his physical strength to its peak. However, with this divine pill, Lu Ming had recovered to his peak in just 2 hours. Let's go. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang stepped out and floated down to the crack. The two of them didn't dare to be careless. They both activated their defensive divine skills, which covered their bodies. Lu Ming activated the 9-layer crimson gold armor. A crimson gold armor covered his body. Ouyang Xiangxiang's body was enveloped by a green lotus. The crack was very deep, and the two kept going down. The deeper they went, the bigger and wider the space below. Squeak. An ear-piercing scream suddenly came from the walls on both sides of the crack. Be careful, Lu Ming reminded. Before Lu Ming could finish his sentence, the wall on one side suddenly exploded. A silver light slashed toward Lu Ming. Silver Planet Devourer. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed and he thrust his long spear forward. The long spear was lost on the Gold Planet Devourer. However, Lu Ming had more than one long spear. Before this, Lu Ming had already purchased several long spears. They were all high-grade divine artifacts that were specially used by heavenly god-level powerhouses. Buzz! The spear collided with the Silver Planet Devourer, creating a loud boom and forcing both parties to retreat. Song of the Green Lotus Sword. Ouyang Qingxiang seized the opportunity and charged over. Her sword qi swept across and enveloped the Silver Planet Devourer. At the same time, Lu Ming conjured the divine dragon materialization art. 2 9-clawed divine dragons pounced at the Silver Planet Devourer. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the 3 apocalyptic strikes at the Silver Planet Devourer. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang joined forces. In addition, Lu Ming's strength had increased a little. Very soon, they began to suppress the Silver Planet Devourer. Just as they were about to kill the Silver Planet Devourer, another shrill scream came from not far away. Then, with another flash of silver light, another Silver Planet Devourer came at them. Not good. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's faces darkened. There were 2 Silver Planet Devourers here. The two of them could deal with 1 Silver Planet Devourer, but it would be difficult to deal with 2. Ouyang Xiangxiang's breakthrough reading Omicron N novel cool. Omicron M, least the Planet Devourer at the back pounced on Ouyang Qingxiang while the Silver Planet Devourer at the front attacked Lu Ming with all its might. Lu Ming went all out but he could only fight to a draw with a Silver Planet Devourer. However, Ouyang Qingxiang was no match for it. She was completely suppressed by the Planet Devourer behind her, and her situation was precarious. Whoosh! The Silver Planet Devourer's claw cut through Ouyang Qingxiang's protective green lotus and almost cut her in half. Although she managed to avoid it, a bloody gash still appeared on her body, and she was bleeding. This is bad. Lu Ming frowned. But now, he was being held back by a Silver Planet Devourer and could only protect himself. It was almost impossible to save him. Ouyang Qingxiang was injured and her situation was even more dangerous. She was forced to retreat by a Northern Bank Planet Devourer. Green Lotus awakens. Ouyang Xiangxiang's eyes were filled with determination as she shouted. Her body emitted a blinding radiance as boundless sword chi gathered into a huge green lotus that enveloped her. Buzz! Buzz! The silver planet devourer's sharp claws slashed at the green lotus. The green lotus trembled and sparks flew, but it was still blocked. However, the silver planet devourer attacked crazily. Its two sharp claws were like lightning, slashing out hundreds of attacks in an instant. The green lotus around Ouyang Qingxiang's body trembled more and more violently. If this continued, it would not be able to hold out for long. What do we do? As Lu Ming fought with the silver planet devourer, he quickly thought of a countermeasure. Ouyang Qingxiang definitely wouldn't be able to hold on for too long. If this continued, her defeat was only a matter of time. Now, there was only one path before Lu Ming, and that was to burn his ancient god heart. By burning the ancient god's heart, Lu Ming's strength would definitely soar, but the consequences would also be very serious. After the ancient god's heart was burned, it would be reduced to nothing. It was even hard to say if Lu Ming could still transform into an ancient god body in the future. It was possible that if the ancient god's heart was burned, he would not be able to transform his ancient god body in the future. That would be a great loss to Lu Ming. However, if she didn't burn her ancient god heart, Ouyang Qingxiang would most likely die here. Lu Ming was a little hesitant. Bang! Bang! The silver planet devourer's attacks landed on Ouyang Qingxiang's green lotus flower, causing it to shake more and more violently. Gotcha! Finally, a crack appeared on the green lotus, and the number of cracks increased rapidly. I don't care. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He could not leave them to die in such a situation. He decided to start burning his ancient god heart. However, at this moment, the green lotus around Ouyang Qingxiang exploded with a loud bang. At the same time, a powerful aura burst out. Without a doubt, this aura belonged to Ouyang Qingxiang. However, it was much stronger than before. This is 5th level heavenly deity. Lu Ming was stunned. At the moment of crisis, Ouyang Qingxiang actually broke through, breaking through to the 5th level celestial deity in one go. In the celestial deity realm, the gap between each level was huge. Every breakthrough of a level would increase one's battle strength by a large margin. Furthermore, for a genius like Ouyang Qingxiang, the power of her secret skills and divine skills had also increased sharply. Whoosh! A green sword chi bloomed from Ouyang Qingxiang's hand and slashed toward the silver planet devourer. Buzz! Sparks flew in all directions as the silver planet devourer was sent flying by Ouyang Xiangxiang's slash. It crashed into a wall, and gravel flew everywhere. Green Lotus Sword Song, kill, die. Ouyang Qingxiang shouted. A bright sword light exploded and slashed at the silver devourer. When she was at the 4th level celestial deity realm, Ouyang Qingxiang's strength was not as good as the silver planet devourer. However, after her breakthrough, her strength was completely above the silver planet devourer and even Lu Ming. The sword light enveloped the silver planet devourer. The situation was completely different from before. Previously, Ouyang Qingxiang was at a disadvantage against the silver planet devourer, but now, Ouyang Qingxiang was completely suppressing the silver planet devourer. Buzz! Whoosh! The sword light and the silver planet devourer kept colliding. After dozens of collisions, Ouyang Qingxiang seized the opportunity and cut open the silver planet devourer's abdomen with one strike, severely injuring it. Then, a ray of sword light swept out and killed the silver planet devourer. After killing the opponent, Ouyang Xiangxiang rushed toward Lu Ming and the silver planet devourer that Lu Ming was fighting. The two of them joined forces and naturally crushed the planet devourer. After a few moves, they killed the other party. Then, he put away the two silver planet devourers' heads. Holy Maiden Qingxiang, you're amazing. You managed to break through at the critical moment. Lu Ming smiled. I was lucky this time. I had no choice but to risk my life just now, but I didn't expect to succeed. Ouyang Xiangxiang smiled. With Ouyang Xiangxiang's breakthrough, they were more confident. As long as they did not encounter too many silver planet devourers at once, they had nothing to fear. Hence, they slowly descended again. After that, they didn't encounter a single planet devourer. It seemed like the 2 silver planet devourers from before were all the planet devourers. Not long after, the 2 of them finally arrived at the crack. There was a huge underground space under the crack. It was very spacious and there were many passages leading in all directions. On the other side of the space, they saw the gold planet devourer. It was the one that they had injured earlier. The long spear that Lu Ming had stabbed the devourer with had been pulled out and thrown aside. Its wound had already stopped bleeding, but its breathing was still very weak. In Lu Ming's previous move, the divine power had exploded directly in its body, blowing up the internal organs of the gold planet devourer. If it had not been for its strong vitality, it would have died. Squeak. Seeing Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang, the gold planet devourer let out a sharp cry. Its eyes were filled with hatred and cold killing intent. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang slowly approached the gold planet devourer, ready to launch a fatal blow. Squeak. At this moment, a sharp cry was heard from one of the side passages. Then, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang saw a huge planet devourer crawling out. This planet devourer was also golden in color. It was another gold-grade planet devourer, and this one looked like it was in its best condition and was not injured. Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's expressions changed drastically. Even if Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang joined forces, they would not be a match for the golden devourer at its peak. Not good, we're retreating. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Ouyang Qingxiang. The 2 of them soared into the sky, planning to leave this place. Chapter 2866 Burning Ancient God's Heart Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M. Lise however, at this moment, a golden light flashed from another direction. Then, a huge creature appeared above Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang's heads. Several golden lights slashed at Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang with a terrifying whistling sound. Not good. At the critical moment, the 2 of them burst out with their own attacks to resist. However, the attacks that were aimed at them were too powerful. Their bodies shook violently and they were blasted to the ground. They landed heavily on the ground and created 2 large pits. The 2 of them felt their bodies go numb, and their qi and blood churned. They almost vomited blood. The 3rd gold planet devourer. Ouyang Qingxiang's voice trembled. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. It was another gold planet devourer that had attacked them. There were 3 gold planet devourers here. The gold planet devourer that had appeared behind them was suspended in the air, blocking their retreat. The 2nd gold planet devourer slowly strolled toward the 2. Squeak. Just as Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang were thinking of a way to escape, sharp sounds were heard from a few other directions. Then, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang saw golden figures crawling out of the caves one after another. Gold planet devourers. They were all gold planet devourers. Lu Ming glanced around and saw 10 of them. In addition to the one that they had injured earlier, there were 11 of them. Their hearts continued to sink. There were 11 gold planet devourers here. The 2 of them couldn't even defeat 1 gold planet devourer, let alone 11 of them. It's over, it's over. Lu Ming, I've implicated you this time. Ouyang Qingxiang's face was as white as snow. Facing 11 gold-tier planet devourers, no matter how strong they would die without a doubt. We might have a chance to fight. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. Go all out, there was no other way, he could only go all out. It seems like he'll have to burn the ancient god heart today. Lu Ming sighed. When he was dealing with the 2 silver planet devourers, he had already planned to burn the ancient god heart. However, after Ouyang Qingxiang had a breakthrough, he naturally did not need to burn it. At first, he thought that there was no need to burn the heart of the ancient god. He never expected that there were actually 11 gold-grade planet devourers here. This was simply a gold-grade planet devourer's lair. Lu Ming, you. There's a way. Ouyang Qingxiang was bewildered. She really couldn't think of any way to deal with 11 gold-grade planet devourers at the same time. Stand behind me, Lu Ming said. Ouyang Qingxiang trusted Lu Ming very much. When she heard that, her figure flashed and she appeared behind Lu Ming. At this moment, they were surrounded by 11 gold-tier planet devourers. Squeak. The 11 gold-grade planet devourers shrieked, emitting cold killing intent. Whoosh! 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 All of a sudden, other than the injured planet devourer, the other 10 pounced on Lu Ming at the same time. Come, ancient god's heart, burn! Lu Ming roared, and the ancient god was instantly set ablaze. As the ancient god's heart burned, waves of majestic energy rushed out and gushed into every part of Lu Ming's body. In an instant, Lu Ming's ancient god body grew stronger. Roar! Lu Ming let out a violent roar, as if an ancient god had come back to life. Buzz! Lu Ming shook his long spear and stabbed more than 10 times in an instant. More than a dozen spearlights burst out with shocking power and stabbed at the 10 gold-grade planet devourers. Bang! 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 The bodies of the 10 gold-grade planet devourers were sent flying by Lu Ming like cannonballs. They crashed into the surrounding walls, causing the entire underground space to shake violently. This, Ouyang Qingxiang was dumbfounded. Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by a large margin in an instant. He had sent 10 gold-grade planet devourers flying by himself. His combat strength was already far above that of the Supreme Holy Sun. As for Lu Ming, he was only at true god level. Ouyang Qingxiang's heart was in turmoil. The 10 gold-grade planet devourers let out sharp cries and rushed out of the rubble, charging at Lu Ming. Furthermore, the gold-grade planet devourer that was injured earlier also charged at Lu Ming. As for Ouyang Xiangxiang, she was completely ignored by the gold-grade planet devourers. In their hearts, Lu Ming was the biggest threat. As long as they got rid of Lu Ming, they could kill Ouyang Xiangxiang at any time. Die. At this moment, Lu Ming's body seemed to be filled with a brutal aura. There was only one word in his heart, and that was fight. Battle. 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 Lu Ming waved his long spear and stabbed it fiercely at the abdomen of a gold-grade planet devourer, ignoring the other planet devourers. Pfft. Lu Ming's long spear pierced through a gold-grade planet devourer and pinned it to the ground. At the same time, the attacks of the other gold-grade planet devourers had already landed on Lu Ming. Be careful. Ouyang Qingxiang exclaimed. Buzz. Buzz. Whoosh. The sharp claws of the other golden devourers slashed at Lu Ming's body. However, the sharp claws from before did not manage to cut through Lu Ming's body. The green scales on the surface of Lu Ming's body became extremely hard. The gold-grade planet devourer's sharp claws slashed on the scales on Lu Ming's body, producing clanking sounds and sparks, leaving shallow white marks on them. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and stabbed another gold-grade planet devourer with his spear. He grabbed another gold-grade planet devourer with his other hand and crushed it. Lu Ming was too powerful when he was burning the ancient god's heart. He completely crushed the 11 gold-level planet devourers. Next, Lu Ming unleashed his lightning-like methods and started a terrifying massacre. The terrifying gold-grade planet devourers were killed by Lu Ming one after another. Not long after, the 11 gold-grade planet devourers were all killed, lying on the ground. Ouyang Qingxiang was dumbfounded and completely stunned. Hoo. At this moment, Lu Ming was panting heavily. His body was shrinking rapidly, turning into the size of an ordinary person. He felt a sense of weakness as if he was about to faint. The ancient god's heart is almost extinguished. Lu Ming sensed the ancient god's heart and realized that it was dead silent. It was not as vigorous as before. He was afraid that he could not even use the ancient god body. Fortunately, all 11 golden devourers have been killed. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. As long as he could keep his life, the temporary losses were nothing. Lu Ming, are you all right? Only then did Ouyang Qingxiang come to her senses and ran toward Lu Ming. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Ha ha ha, good, very good. You actually killed more than 10 of my good-for-nothing subordinates. Very good. At this moment, a sharp laugh rang out. Chapter 2868 Purple Copper Coffin opens. Please visit Oxville. Omicron M. To enjoy reading. Just as Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang heaved a sigh of relief, a shrill laughter rang out, and their expressions changed. Who is it? Ouyang Xiangxiang shouted. This voice was very unfamiliar to her. It didn't belong to the sacred sun of reflection or the supreme sacred sun. Kacha kacha. A voice came from one of the caves. Then, a huge figure crawled out of the cave. Without a doubt, this huge creature was a planet devourer, and it was completely golden. Another gold-tier planet devourer. Moreover, this gold-grade planet devourer was very different from the gold-grade planet devourer that had appeared before. This gold-grade planet devourer actually had 3 heads and 6 extremely sharp front claws. It looked very horrifying. Not good, it's a mutated gold-grade planet devourer. Its strength is several times stronger than a normal gold-grade planet devourer. Bone shouted in his sea of consciousness. Lu Ming's heart sank. This one was actually a mutated gold-grade planet devourer, which was several times stronger than a normal gold-grade planet devourer. How could they fight it? Given Lu Ming's current physical condition, he was not even a match for a silver-grade planet devourer, let alone a gold-grade one. Furthermore, this planet devourer could speak, unlike the previous planet devourers. He, human brat, you're really powerful. You have so many trump cards. Luckily, I'm smart enough to let those idiots come out first. Now, what do you have to fight me with? Go to hell. The mutated golden planet devourer shrieked. It waved its sharp claws and slashed at Lu Ming. A golden ray of light slashed at him. Song of the Green Lotus Sword, die. Ouyang Qingxiang shouted and stood in front of Lu Ming. She used all her strength to cast the Song of the Azure Lotus Sword. A huge sword chi slashed forward. With Ouyang Xiangxiang's current cultivation at the 5th level celestial deity realm, her full power was astonishing. However, when her sword light clashed with the mutated gold-ranked devourer's light, her sword light instantly shattered. Ouyang Qingxiang groaned and her body flew far away. She hit the wall and spat out a large mouthful of blood. One of her battle armors was split open, revealing a wound that was so deep that her bones could be seen. With just one move, Ouyang Qingxiang was severely injured and no longer able to fight. You want to stop me with such strength? You're simply looking for death. He. The mutated golden planet devourer let out a sharp laugh and looked at Lu Ming coldly. Kid, your cultivation is very low, but you're so powerful. There must be a secret. I can feel that your flesh and blood are full of energy. It must be delicious. As long as I eat you, my strength will definitely rise by a large margin. He. The mutated gold-grade planet devourer's scarlet tongue sneered and it walked towards Lu Ming unhurriedly. Senior Bone, what should we do now? Lu Ming was seeking help from the bone demon. Kid, don't count on me. With my current condition, I can't beat this mutated gold-grade planet devourer. Your only hope now is that purple copper coffin. Bone said. That purple copper coffin? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right, that purple copper coffin is as heavy as a mountain. If we use it to sneak attack, we might be able to heavily injure it. You guys can take the chance to escape. Bone said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. This was the only plan they had now. With a single thought, Lu Ming's glabella lit up and the scroll flew out, flying towards the mutated gold-grade planet devourer and above its head. A broken painting scroll, break for me. The mutant golden planet devourer let out a sharp laugh, its sharp claws slashing towards the painting, trying to tear it apart. Smash it. Lu Ming roared and controlled the scroll. The scroll shook and a purple bronze coffin fell from the scroll, smashing heavily towards the mutated gold-level planet devourer. Buzz. Buzz. Whoosh. The mutated gold-grade planet devourer's sharp claws kept slashing at the purple copper coffin, making clanking sounds. However, it could not slow down the speed of the purple copper coffin's descent at all. Bang! The purple coffin was as heavy as a mountain. It fell on the mutated golden planet devourer, almost crushing one of its heads. The mutant gold planet devourer was pressed to the ground, its 6 claws flailing about madly, struggling. It's really useful. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He did not expect the purple copper coffin to be so heavy that it could crush the mutated gold planet devourer. This is a good opportunity. How could Lu Ming miss this opportunity? He mustered all his remaining strength and charged at the mutated gold planet devourer with the long spear in hand. Whoosh! Lu Ming aimed his spear at the neck of the mutated golden planet devourer. However, the other party's head tilted to the side. Lu Ming did not stab his neck. Instead, he stabbed the carapace on the other party's head. There was the sound of a nail being nailed and sparks flew in all directions. Lu Ming did not penetrate the other party's defense. Lu Ming was not in his ancient god body state. There was a huge difference between their abilities. As long as he did not hit his opponent's vital points, he could not even break through his opponent's defense. You want to hide? Let's see how you can hide. Lu Ming's long spear continued to thrust out, specifically aiming for the other party's soft vital points such as the eyes and neck. You want to kill me? Don't even think about it, don't even think about it, die, die, the mutated golden planet devourer roared madly. Its 3 heads writhed and its 6 sharp claws reached out randomly. A few of its claws grabbed onto the purple copper coffin, trying to push it open. Gotcha! Suddenly, a cracking sound came from the purple copper coffin. That was because the mutated golden planet devourer's sharp claws had grabbed the lid of the purple copper coffin. Just now, the lid had been pushed a little. Gotcha! Then, the lid of the coffin was pushed a little bit more, and there was a small gap between the lid and the body of the coffin. Roar! At this moment, a roar came from the gap of the purple copper coffin. This roar was earth-shattering, causing Lu Ming's eardrums to ring and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, a terrifying aura emanated from the purple copper coffin, enveloping Lu Ming and the mutated golden planet devourer. Roar! Roar! The roars from the purple bronze coffin became even more terrifying. A terrifying force pressed down on Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming could not move at all. It was as if he was being controlled. Even his senses were being controlled. Everything before his eyes was pitch black. However, in the next moment, his eyes lit up again. Then, he realized that he had actually arrived in the universe. In the starry sky, there was an incomparably huge giant whose fist was bigger than a planet. Ancient God. Lu Ming's heart was beating wildly. This was clearly an ancient god. The ancient god roared and punched out. In the starry sky, planets exploded one after another. The scene was extremely terrifying. Ancient god body in green armor. Please visit Oxville. M to enjoy reading, but the next moment, the scene changed again. Lu Ming came to the other side of the boundless starry sky. He saw a group of ancient gods in this starry sky. Yes, not one, but a group. This group of ancient gods, each of their bodies was indomitable and incomparably huge. Each one of them exuded a terrifying aura. The entire universe trembled under such pressure. These ancient gods seemed to be fighting with something. It was simply destructive. The universe's starry sky shattered and exploded one after another. Lu Ming even saw the galaxies exploding and being destroyed. Such a scene was truly shocking. However, the next moment, the scene changed again. Lu Ming saw a purple bronze coffin floating in the starry sky. It kept floating and he did not know where it was floating to. Lu Ming had been drifting in the starry sky. He did not know how long it had been. He was sleepy and slowly fell into a deep sleep. He didn't know how much time had passed before he woke up again. What greeted his eyes was an underground cave. Lu Ming, are you all right? A crisp sound was transmitted to Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming turned his head and saw Ouyang Qingxiang's concerned gaze. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled and then looked around. He was still in the same underground cave, but the mutant gold planet devourer was dead. His entire body was shriveled, and the golden armor on his body was extremely dim. There was no sign of life, as if all the essence in his body had been sucked away. The purple copper coffin was still suppressing the mutated golden planet devourer. However, the lid of the coffin, which had been slightly open, was now completely closed without a single gap. What were those things I saw just now? Was it the strange phenomenon in the purple copper coffin? Also, why is the mutated gold planet devourer dead, but I, Ouyang Qingxiang, am fine? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind and he had many questions. It's dangerous, kid. It's really dangerous this time. I'm in big trouble because of you. Bone Demon's voice came from his sea of consciousness. Lu Ming's inner consciousness discovered that the Bone Demon was lying on the scroll. The bone armor, which was originally shiny, had dimmed and looked listless. Senior, what's wrong? Lu Ming asked. It's all because I helped you close that purple gold coffin. Bone shouted. Purple copper coffin? Senior, what exactly is in that purple copper coffin? The mutated gold planet devourer, did it die because of the purple gold coffin? Lu Ming asked the question in his heart. That's right. The mutated gold planet devourer died because of the purple copper coffin. As for what's inside the purple copper coffin, I don't know either. Maybe there's the corpse of an unparalleled master buried inside, or maybe there's an entire world or a part of history buried inside. Bone muttered, his eyes shining with a serious light. Buried an entire world, a piece of history? Lu Ming was puzzled. It was understandable to bury an expert, but to bury an entire world, a piece of history, what was going on? My guess is that the origin of this purple copper coffin is shocking. I don't know what's in it, but it's very dangerous. No, extremely dangerous. It's a good thing that I only opened a small crack this time. Otherwise, God knows what would have happened. It would have been extremely terrifying, and you and I would have both died. Kid, don't try to open this purple copper coffin so easily in the future. Bone warned. MMH. Lu Ming nodded. Kid, this time I really suffered a great loss in order to cover the purple copper coffin. You, on the other hand, got a great bargain. Bone said unhappily. I picked up a big bargain? Lu Ming was puzzled. However, he was stunned at the next moment. He realized that his body was filled with power. His ancient god heart was beating with great strength, and his chi and blood were surging to the extreme. Previously, he had burned the ancient god's heart and almost used up all of its energy. But now, it had recovered and was even more powerful than before. Lu Ming had a feeling that his ancient god body had made a breakthrough. If he could turn into an ancient god body now, he might not only be a green-armored ancient god, but a level 5 green-armored ancient god body. At the thought of this, Lu Ming's heart thumped. He planned to give it a try. After greeting Ouyang Qingxiang, Lu Ming's body continued to grow. In the end, he turned into an ancient god that was 200 meters tall. The scales all over his body were no longer green, but had turned blue. It really was the green-armored ancient god. Lu Ming was ecstatic. At that moment, he felt that he had an endless amount of energy in his body. He was many times stronger than before. My cultivation has also broken through and reached the limit of stage 9 True God realm. Lu Ming was pleasantly surprised to discover that his cultivation had also broken through. Not only did he reach the 9th stage True God, but he had also reached the limit of the 9th stage True God. He was not far from the celestial God level. What's going on? Could it be related to the strange phenomenon I saw earlier? Lu Ming's imagination ran wild. What he had just seen was all about the ancient gods. An ancient god destroyed one planet after another with a single punch and traversed the starry sky. It was terrifying to the extreme. In another scene, a group of ancient gods was fighting with the enemy. The scene was even more shocking. The universe's starry sky was shattered, and the entire galaxy collapsed. All of this was definitely related to the purple copper coffin. A blessing in disguise. It was really a blessing in disguise. Lu Ming's face was full of smiles. Previously, he had burned his ancient god's heart and fought fiercely with the gold planet devourer. It was best that the energy of the ancient god's heart was almost exhausted. Lu Ming thought that he would never use the ancient god body again. He did not expect that not only could he use the ancient god body, but it had also evolved to the green-armored ancient god. He had even broken through in his cultivation, saving him a lot of time. The bone demon was right. Lu Ming had really picked up a great bargain. At that moment, Lu Ming felt that he had let the bone demon down. Lu Ming gathered his thoughts and transformed back into his human form. At the side, Ouyang Qingxiang had been in a state of shock. It took a while before she regained her senses. "Miss Ouyang, let's pack up and go out," Lu Ming told Ouyang Qingxiang. Okay. Only then did Ouyang Qingxiang nod her head repeatedly. This time, it was really a great harvest. Previously, Lu Ming had killed 11 gold planet devourers. The mutated gold planet devourers did not give specific points. Lu Ming and the rest just treated it as an ordinary gold planet devourers. However, the mutated gold planet devourers had 3 heads, which was equivalent to 3 gold planet devourers. In total, there were 14 gold planet devourers. This was an astonishing harvest. Needless to say, they definitely had the most points in this competition. They didn't believe that the Supreme Saint's son and the Transient Light Saint's son would have so many points. Chapter 2871 Whose harvest is greater? Please visit Oxville. Omicron M. To enjoy reading, the two of them flew out of the underground crack and met up with Kang Chong and Lu Jie. When Kang Chong and Lu Jie found out that Lu Ming and the rest had killed 14 gold planet devourers, they were stunned and could not react for a long time. There was still a long time before the 3-month deadline. They didn't go out and killed some planet devourers while they were at it. In the days that followed, they didn't encounter any gold planet devourers, but they did encounter some silver and bronze planet devourers. Now that Ouyang Qingxiang had a breakthrough in her cultivation and Lu Ming's combat strength had increased, it was much easier to kill devourers. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, he could easily kill the silver planet devourer even if he was facing it alone. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. 3 months later, Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the other two returned to the passageway they had entered from. Once the 3-month period was up, they flew into the vortex and returned to the Kongxian sect's competition ground. The Kongxian sect was still crowded. 3 months' time was just a blink of an eye to everyone. It would pass by in a short time. "Look, they're out," someone suddenly called out. Then, everyone saw figures appear in the teleportation array in the sky. The Supreme Saint's son, the Transient Light Saint's son, Lu Ming, and the others appeared almost at the same time and sized each other up. 4 people went in from each side, and 4 people came out. There was no loss. "Hee, I wonder how many planet devourers you've killed. Let's take a look." The Supreme Saint's gaze swept across the sacred son of reflection, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the others as he spoke coldly. You'll know in a moment. The sacred son of reflection snorted. Ouyang Xiangxiang's expression was calm and she did not say anything. However, Kang Chong and Lu Jie's eyes revealed a hint of anticipation and excitement. They were looking forward to the expressions of the Supreme Holy Son and the others when they saw their gains. The others in the surroundings were also making guesses. I wonder which side will gain more this time, that goes without saying. It must be the Supreme Holy Son. With his combat power, he can definitely kill many planet devourers. That's right. I still stand by my original judgment. The Supreme Saint is first, and the Transient Light Saint is second. As for Ouyang Xiangxiang and Lu Ming, they are definitely the weakest. Some people were very firm and still believed that Ouyang Qingxiang and Lu Ming's side were the weakest. Okay, now, take out the planet devourers you've killed. 1 point for the bronze-grade planet devourers, 5 points for the silver-grade planet devourers, and 50 points for the gold-grade planet devourers. The Supreme Doyen of the Senate stepped out again and announced loudly. Floating Light, didn't you want me to know how many planet devourers you've killed? Take it out and let's see. The Supreme Saint looked at the Transient Light Saint's son and the others. In the Supreme Saint's mind, the biggest competitor this round was still the Sacred Son of Reflection. After all, the Sacred Son of Reflection had 4 Sacred Sons and Saintesses working together. As long as he knew what the Sacred Son of Reflection and the others had obtained, he would have more confidence. The Sacred Son snorted and stepped forward. With a wave of his hand, the heads of the planet devourers flew out and floated in the air. There were silver ones and bronze ones. Lu Ming took a glance and saw the number. There were 12 silver planet devourers and 52 bronze devourers. There were a total of 64. Lu Ming was not too surprised by the number. Currently, the Sacred Son of Reflection was also at the 5th level heavenly deity realm. His combat strength was definitely not weaker than Ouyang Qingxiang's. With the other 3 Sacred Sons and Saintesses working together, killing a silver-grade planet devourer would definitely not be a problem. It was normal for them to kill 12 in 3 months if they cooperated well. The Supreme Holy Son swept his gaze across and revealed a relaxed look. 12 silver-grade planet devourers, 60 points in total. 52 bronze-grade devourers, 52 points. A total of 112 points. The Supreme Martial Artist announced. The crowd didn't speak. Most of them didn't have much of an idea of the planet devourer's strength, so they didn't have much of an idea about 112 points. He also needed to know the points of the others and compare them before he could come to a conclusion. Only 112 points and you want to compete with me? The Supreme Holy Son chuckled and stepped forward. With a wave of his hand, the heads of the planet devourers flew out. There were silver and bronze. 18 silver planet devourers' heads and 80 bronze planet devourers' heads. The Sacred Son of Reflection's expression turned extremely ugly when he saw this number. The Supreme Saint looked at the Reflection Saint's son smugly, then at Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. He chuckled and said, "Do you think that's all I've gained? Then you guys better watch carefully." After saying that, the Supreme Holy Son waved his hand again, and another planet devourer's head flew out. The head of the planet devourer was golden in color. The head of the gold planet devourer. Seeing the head, the Floating Light Saint's son, Ji Xia Saint's son, Yan Kong Saint's son, and Xue Tan Saint's son all turned pale. Even Ouyang Qingxiang and the others had a grave expression on their faces. The Supreme Holy Son and the others were actually able to kill a gold-grade planet devourer. Their strength was truly shocking. A smile appeared on Jizun's old face as he loudly announced, "On the side of the Supreme Universe, we have killed a gold planet devourer, 18 silver planet devourers, and 80 bronze planet devourers. We have obtained a total of 220 points." The Sacred Son's face turned even uglier. The points that they had obtained were only about half of the Supreme Sacred Son's. The difference was too great. The crowd was in a heated discussion again. As expected of the Supreme Holy Son, he actually obtained 220 points. That's almost double the amount of points the transient light holy sun has. The sacred sun of floating light has 4 sacred suns and saintesses working together. If they were to split up, wouldn't they be even worse off? The gap is too big. The difference is indeed shocking. Among all the holy sons and holy virgins, the supreme holy sun is the best. I knew that no one could defeat the supreme holy sun. I haven't even calculated the points of holy maiden Qingxiang and holy sun Lu Ming. Needless to say, holy maiden Qingxiang and holy sun Lu Ming have the least number of people. I bet they won't have more than 100 points. In the midst of the discussion, the supreme holy sun turned his gaze to Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. You two, where are your gains? Take them out and have a look. The supreme saint said with a relaxed expression. He also felt that Lu Ming and the rest's gains would definitely not exceed that of the sacred sun of reflection and the rest. Chapter 2871 Shocking everyone, please visit Oxville. Omicron M to enjoy reading. Since you want to see it, then you can watch it. Ouyang Xiangxiang said calmly before stepping into the air. Lu Ming did not move. After all, he was here to help Ouyang Qingxiang. Therefore, he gave all the planet devourer heads to Ouyang Qingxiang. Not far from Jizun Dong, the storage ring on Ouyang Qingxiang's hand glowed. Then, the heads of the planet devourers flew out. Ouyang Xiangxiang started by taking out 101 bronze-grade planet devourer heads. So many, everyone was shocked. 101 bronze-level heads would give him 101 points. 101 points. By the way, didn't you just say that Holy Sun Lu Ming and the others won't have more than 100 points? Someone spoke and looked at the person who said that Lu Ming's group would definitely not have more than 100 points. That person's face immediately turned red and he was extremely ashamed. I've only just reached 100 points. It's not even the lowest point. That person said stubbornly. It wasn't just the others. Even the Supreme Holy Sun's expression changed. However, when he saw that the 101 planet devourers' heads were bronze grade, he let out a sigh of relief. There are quite a number of them, but they're all bronze level ones. I'm guessing that you've been hunting bronze level devourers all this while. That's right. With your abilities and Lu Ming's, even if you join forces, you might not be a match for a silver planet devourer. You can only kill bronze level planet devourers. The Supreme Holy Sun laughed. The sacred sun of reflection and the others nodded. They thought so too because they knew how terrifying the silver-grade planet devourer was. Even if they were to face a silver-grade planet devourer, they would need 4 people to work together to kill it. Even if Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang worked together, they would not be able to kill the silver-grade planet devourer. They would only be able to kill the bronze-grade planet devourer. If he focused on killing the bronze-level planet devourers, he could still kill 101 bronze-level planet devourers in 3 months if he was lucky. We didn't manage to kill a silver-tier planet devourer? Who told you about the Supreme Universe? You're taking it for granted. I'm not done taking them. Ouyang Xiangxiang smiled faintly and waved her hand again. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Silver planet devourer heads flew out. There were 20 of them. During this period of time, Lu Ming and the rest had killed a total of 20 silver-level devourers. It was 2 more than the Supreme Holy Sun's 18. Many people's eyes popped out and they were dumbfounded. The fact that Ouyang Xiangxiang could take out 20 silver-grade planet devourers' heads at one go was beyond everyone's expectations. How is this possible? The floating light Saint Sun, Zhixia Saint Sun, Yan Kong Saint Sun, and Xue Tan Saint Daughter all widened their eyes in disbelief. They had worked hard, and the 4 of them had only managed to kill 12 silver planet devourers. They thought that they had done their best. They could still accept the fact that the Supreme Holy Sun had killed more than them. However, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang had killed so many. Their self-esteem had taken a huge blow. The Supreme Holy Sun's expression turned ugly. He had never expected this outcome. What do you think, Supreme Universe? Ouyang Qingxiang looked at the Supreme Holy Sun and said. Now that she had a breakthrough in her cultivation and Lu Ming's combat strength had soared to a shocking level, she was much more confident when facing the Supreme Saint. Humph. The Supreme Saint snorted coldly and said with a gloomy face, not bad. You guys managed to kill 20 silver planet devourers. That's beyond my expectations. Wait a minute, Ouyang Qingxiang, so you've made a breakthrough in your cultivation. No wonder, the Supreme Saint's eyes glowed with a dense divine light as he stared at Ouyang Xiangxiang. After carefully sizing her up, he could finally tell that Ouyang Xiangxiang's cultivation had broken through. She was no longer a 4th-level heavenly god but a 5th-level heavenly god. Ouyang Xiangxiang has broken through. The expressions of the sacred sun of reflection and the others also darkened. Ouyang Qingxiang had broken through and reached the 5th-level heavenly deity realm. They had another powerful enemy. Ouyang Xiangxiang, so what if you've broken through? You're still far from being able to compete with me. Also, your points in the first round were only 201 points. You couldn't even beat me in the first round, so you'll have no chance in the second round, the Supreme Holy Sun said confidently. Supreme Universe, how did you know that I only have 201 points? Ouyang Qingxiang waited for the Paragon Holy Sun to finish speaking before speaking again. What? The Supreme Holy Sun's expression turned serious. Don't tell me you still have the planet devourer's head that you haven't taken out? You've become smarter this time. Open your eyes wide and watch. Ouyang Qingxiang said. With a wave of her hand, rays of golden light burst forth. Then, golden planet devourer heads appeared in the sky. Ouyang Qingxiang took out all 14 of the gold planet devourer's heads. Silence. The scene suddenly fell into a dead silence. When they saw Ouyang Xiangxiang take out the head of the gold planet devourer, everyone was dumbfounded. They were completely stunned. Even the elders who had seen great storms and waves, and even the sect master of the Kongxian sect, Long Zhou San, were the same. Ouyang Xiangxiang's act of taking out 14 gold planet devourers' heads was also beyond their expectations. As for the floating light Saint Sun, the Supreme Saint Sun, and the others, they were completely dumbfounded. Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. He knew that Ouyang Qingxiang did it on purpose. She deliberately took them out one by one to slap the Supreme Holy Sun in the face. A woman's desire for revenge is very strong. As long as she gets the chance, she will definitely seek revenge to the death. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. All right, ha ha ha. At this moment, a laugh was heard. It was Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather. He was the first to react and burst into laughter. At this time, everyone seemed to wake up from a dream. The heads of 14 gold-tier planet devourers? This is impossible. Ouyang Qingxiang, how did you get them? The Supreme Holy Sun roared. He still found it hard to believe. He knew how terrifying the gold-grade planet devourer was. In these 3 months, he had fought many gold-grade planet devourers and had fierce battles. Although his strength could suppress a gold-grade planet devourer, it was not much stronger. It was very difficult to kill a gold-grade planet devourer. He had injured several gold-tier planet devourers, but they all escaped. Later on, he was lucky and used the terrain to trap a gold-grade planet devourer to death. But now, Ouyang Qingxiang had taken out the heads of 14 gold planet devourers. He would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Chapter 2871 Despicable Supreme takes action. Please visit Oxville. Omicron M. To enjoy reading, I don't need to tell you how I obtained the Supreme Universe. You don't have the right to know. Ouyang Xiangxiang said indifferently. The Supreme Holy Sun rolled his eyes and suddenly had an idea. He shouted, I know, you guys must have been lucky to have found the burial ground of the planet devourer and dug up the bodies of many gold-tier planet devourers. That's why you were able to get so many heads of the planet devourers. And look, these 3 heads are shriveled, caused by the loss of too much essence. This must be the gold planet devourer that has been dead for many years. Finally, the Supreme Holy Sun pointed at the heads of the three mutated golden devourers. The head of the mutated golden devourer looked like it had been dead for many years because of the purple copper coffin. The Supreme Holy Sun's words made many people come to a realization. So that's how it is. No, that must be it. They're lucky to have found the graveyard where the planet is buried. That's right. Otherwise, if the Supreme Holy Sun could only kill one gold planet devourer, how could they have killed 14? It's like a fantasy. Yes, I guess that's how they got their bronze planet devourers and silver planet devourers. My luck is too good. The crowd was in a heated discussion. On the other hand, Ouyang Xiangxiang, Kang Chong, and Lu Jie's faces turned ugly. Who said we've come across the burial ground of the planet devourer? I'm telling you, we killed these planet devourers with our own hands. Ouyang Xiangxiang shouted. You killed it yourself? Ha ha ha, Ouyang Qingxiang, do you have the strength to do so? It's you? Or Lu Ming? Aren't you afraid that people will laugh at you? Supreme Universe sneered. He did not believe that Ouyang Qingxiang, Lu Ming, and the rest could kill so many planet devourers. Humph, you're making wild guesses. Supreme Elder, you can announce the scores now. Ouyang Qingxiang coldly snorted, then looked at Supreme Being Dong. Supreme Martial Artist Dong's face was somewhat gloomy. However, he could only announce Ouyang Xiangxiang's score at this moment. Ouyang Xiangxiang, a total of 14 golden devourer heads, 20 silver devourer heads, and 101 silver devourer heads, a total of 801 points. The Supreme Martial Artist announced. Everyone's heart was in turmoil. 801 points, almost 600 more than the Supreme Holy Sun. Such a high score made the competition this time simple and confusing. Perhaps, Ouyang Qingxiang would be able to use her advantage in this round to obtain the final victory. Alright, the first round is over. Next, let's move on to the second round. The Grand Master's voice rang out, and his eyes flickered with a scheming light as he said, the second round is very simple. The three of you, 12 people, will go up to the fighting stage together. It will be a chaotic battle between the three sides. Whoever remains on the fighting stage will be the winner. The winner will be the future Zongzi. As soon as he said that, many people were stunned. Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather was even more furious. He stepped forward and said, Paragon move? What's the meaning of this? The rules of the second round are inappropriate. Inappropriate? What's inappropriate? Supreme Martial Artist Dong sneered. Nonsense, of course it's inappropriate. This way, the winner will be decided in the second round. What's the point of the first round then? As I said before, we will combine the points from both rounds. The one with the highest points will be the future Zongzi. Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather retorted loudly. Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the rest also looked gloomy. The actions of the Supreme Martial Artist were clearly biased towards the Supreme Martial Artist universe. He had used this rule because he saw that the Supreme Universe was too far behind in points in the first round. If he combined the points of the two rounds, the Supreme Universe might not be able to compete with Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. In this way, the first round of the competition was meaningless. I've said before that the second round will be based on an arena tournament, combining the points from both rounds. However, I think that's more inappropriate. The future Zongzis must have the strongest combat strength. The weaker one will be chosen as a Zongzi. Taking over the Kongxian sect in the future will only make the Kongxian sect weaker and weaker. Only the strongest person can lead the Kongxian sect to become the strongest in the future. The Supreme Martial Artist said. The Supreme Martial Artist is moving. You're quibbling, Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather shouted angrily. What excuse? However, in the first round, Ouyang Qingxiang, Lu Ming, and the rest did not rely on their own strength to hunt and obtain so many points. They were lucky and obtained the burial ground of a planet devourer. This is not the purpose of the test at all. If you want to count them by points, that's fine. It'll only be meaningful if Ouyang Qingxiang and the others' points in the first round are cleared to 0. Supreme Martial Artist Dong sneered. Supreme Martial Artist, what makes you think that Xiang and the others got their points by luck and not by killing with their strength? Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather shouted. Supreme move was despicable. Previously, the Supreme Holy Son's tone only said that he guessed that Ouyang Qingxiang and the rest had obtained the burial ground of the planet Devourer. However, Supreme Move directly asserted that Lu Ming and the rest had obtained the burial ground of the planet Devourer and did not rely on their own strength. He rejected the results of Lu Ming and the rest. Ouyang Xiangxiang, Kang Chong, and Lu Jia were all furious. Kill them with their own strength? Can they kill 14 gold planet devourers? If they were able to kill 14 golden planet devourers with their true strength, then I, the Supreme One, would be able to write my name backwards. Supreme Martial Artist Dong sneered. Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather was furious, but he had nothing to say. In fact, he also felt that Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the rest had also obtained the burial ground of the planet Devourer. Therefore, he could not refute it at the moment. I agree with the Supreme Elder's suggestion. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone's eyes turned to the person who spoke. It's Lu Ming. He actually agrees with the Supreme Elder's opinion. He probably has a guilty conscience and knows that he didn't get the points in the right way, so he agreed. That's for sure. I'm guessing that he doesn't dare to offend the Supreme Holy Son and the Supreme Doyen. Many people were guessing. The person who spoke just now was naturally Lu Ming. You agree? The Supreme Martial Artist also looked at Lu Ming. To be honest, he was also a little surprised that Lu Ming would agree. That's right, I agree. I think what the Supreme Elder said makes sense. Since it's a Zongzi contest, strength should be the deciding factor. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang was anxious and quickly sent a message to Lu Ming. If they followed the Supreme Martial Artist's method, then the advantage they had built up in the first round would be completely useless. Chapter 2872 Joining Hands. Please visit Oxville. Omicron to enjoy reading, don't worry, trust me. Lu Ming smiled and sent a voice transmission to Ouyang Qingxiang. Lu Ming's words made the others look dumbfounded. Some of them looked puzzled while others sneered. Alright, since you've agreed to it, let's do it this way. Ouyang Qingxiang, Sacred Son of Reflection, do you have any objections? The Supreme Martial Artist said. I have no objections. Ouyang Xiangxiang's eyes flickered. In the end, she nodded in agreement and chose to believe Lu Ming. Moreover, Lu Ming's strength had improved greatly this time. He might be able to fight against the Supreme Holy Son. I don't have any objections either. The Sacred Son of Reflection also nodded. In the first round, his points were last. Whether it was compared to the Supreme Holy Son or Lu Ming and the others, the difference was too great. This change would be beneficial to him. If he were to fight with his own strength, he might be able to fight with the Supreme Holy Son if he gathered the strength of the other 3 Holy Sons and Holy Virgins. How could he not agree? Brother, you see, they themselves have already agreed, are you still going to object? The Supreme Martial Artist's gaze shifted to Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather. Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather was against it, but since Ouyang Qingxiang and the others had agreed, he couldn't say anything more. He could only keep quiet with a gloomy face. Alright, then it's decided. You guys can go up the stage and fight. The Supreme Martial Artist announced. During this entire process, Dragon Boat Mountain didn't say anything, as if they didn't want to interfere. Buzz. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. In a flash, the Supreme Holy Son, the Transient Light Holy Son, Lu Ming, and the others all rushed up to the fighting ring. 4 people from each side stood in 3 different directions of the fighting ring, forming a triangular formation. The competition, begin. The supreme martial artist announced. However, none of the three parties moved. All three parties wanted to wait for the other two parties to make the first move so that they could reap the benefits. No one would make the first move to help others. For a moment, the three parties were sizing each other up and confronting each other. Everyone around the fighting ring held their breath. They understood that none of the three parties would easily make a move. However, once they did, they would use a thunderous strike and erupt into an astonishing battle. Everyone was looking forward to it. The Supreme Saint had a calm smile on his face as his gaze swept across Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, the transient light Saint Sun, and the others. Among these people, the only one that he was slightly afraid of was Lu Ming. Lu Ming always gave her an unfathomable feeling. He was the only person he valued. As for the others, he didn't even put them in his eyes. Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, why don't we join forces and blast the floating light down first? Then, we'll decide who's the winner. What do you think? Suddenly, the Supreme Holy Sun sent a message to Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. Let's join forces first. Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes flashed as she considered the possibility of this suggestion. If they worked together with the Supreme Saint Sun to eliminate the transient light Saint Sun's side, they would have to face the Supreme Saint's challenge alone. It would be impossible to find anyone to work with. Ouyang Qingxiang was initially thinking of teaming up with the Sacred Sun of Reflection to deal with the Supreme Being together. Then, they would have a showdown. However, she was afraid that the Sacred Sun of Reflection would team up with the Supreme Sacred Sun to deal with them first. Thus, she hesitated. All right, I promise you. Lu Ming responded directly. Ouyang Xiangxiang's gaze flickered, but she did not object. She could only choose to believe Lu Ming now. All right. The Supreme Saint Sun's eyes flickered as he looked at the transient light Saint Sun. He suddenly stepped forward, and a powerful aura burst out from his body. At the same time, the three people behind the Supreme Saint Sun also released powerful auras, pressing down on the transient light Saint Sun. Then, Lu Ming, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the other two also released powerful auras that surged toward the Sacred Sun of Reflection and the others. The expressions of the Sacred Sun of Reflection and the others changed. The Universe God, Lu Ming, you're despicable. You actually want both sides to join forces against us. The Sacred Sun of Reflection roared. Floating light, you have 4 holy sons and holy virgins. We have 4 holy sons and holy virgins in total. It's a good time to fight and decide who's stronger. That's the fairest way. The Supreme Holy Sun sneered. He was right. There were 2 saint-level characters on his side. In addition to Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang, they had 4 saint-level characters, the same as the transient light saint and the others. You, the Sacred Sun of Reflection's expression was ugly. Enough nonsense, let's fight, die. The Supreme Saint Sun shouted. His body emitted violent divine power. The violent aura formed a storm that pressed down on the transient light Saint Sun. Paragon Divine Fist. The Supreme Saint Sun roared, and his fists glowed with a golden light. He punched out continuously, and brilliant fist prints bombarded the transient light Saint Sun. Yen Kong, you and I will hold off Supreme Universe and the others. I'll leave Shuetan, Ji Xia, Lu Ming, and Ouyang Qingxiang to you. The Sacred Sun of Reflection roared. At this time, he had no choice but to fight. The floating light Saint Sun's figure moved and pounced towards the Supreme Saint Sun. His 5th-level celestial deity strength completely erupted. The divine light from beyond the heavens. The Sacred Sun of Reflection howled, and his body was covered in blinding light that was brighter than the sun. The dazzling light turned into a terrifying palm print and blasted toward the Supreme Holy Sun. Boom! Boom! The 2 attacks collided, creating thousands of waves. The sky was filled with dazzling light, silver white and golden. However, the golden light clearly had the upper hand. In the end, the silver-white light shook and exploded. The sacred sun was forced back. He was completely suppressed by the Supreme Holy Sun in a direct confrontation. At the same time, the Yen Kong Saint Sun and the Supreme Saint Sun's number one subordinate were locked in a fierce battle. That person's strength was no weaker than the Yen Kong Saint Sun's. As for the other two, they were weaker than the saints, so they didn't make a move. Instead, they stood on the side as a lookout. On the other side, Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang were fighting against Holy Sun Ji Xia and Holy Maiden Xuetan. Song of the Green Lotus Sword, Die. Ouyang Qingxiang shouted and slashed out a green sword light toward Holy Maiden Xuetan. Saintess Xuetan also used all her strength to resist. However, after one move, Xuetan's body trembled and she retreated. She was no match for him. Originally, Ouyang Xiangxiang and Holy Maiden Xuetan's strength were on par. However, now that Ouyang Xiangxiang had broken through to the 5th level heavenly god realm, her strength was completely above Holy Maiden Xuetan's. Having gained the upper hand in one move, Ouyang Qingxiang continued to perform the Song of the Green Lotus Sword. Green lotus flowers enveloped Saintess Xuetan, bursting out with thousands of sword qi. Saintess Xuetan tried to block, but it was useless. After a dozen moves, she was pushed to the edge of the fighting ring with a few sword wounds on her body. Roar! An ancient god's roar was heard. It was from the ancient god body that Lu Ming had transformed into. However, Lu Ming did not use his full strength. He did not turn into a green-armored ancient god, but a green-armored ancient god. After cultivating the ancient god tactic, he could control what level of ancient god he wanted to become. Chapter 2874 Dealing with floating light. Even though he had transformed into a green-armored ancient god and his cultivation was only at the 8th tier of true god, he was still able to completely suppress the Jixia Saint Sun. Saint Sun Ji Xia's combat power was similar to that of the Tianhong Saint Sun. Back then, Lu Ming's cultivation was also at the 8th tier of true god realm. He had transformed into a green-armored ancient god and defeated the Tianhong Saint Sun. Today, it was the same. Moon-slaying sword, the long spear in Lu Ming's hands was as large as a mountain. He kept performing the moon-cutting move and bombarding Saint Sun Jixia. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the ice chain and the divine dragon materialization technique. The 9 ice chains continued to wrap around Holy Sun Jixia, seriously interfering with his performance. The 2 9-clawed divine dragons roared continuously and completely suppressed Saint Sun Jixia. Kang Chong and Lu Jie did not need to do anything. The sacred sun of reflection is going to lose, that's right. Lu Ming and Holy Maiden Qingxiang's abilities are truly astonishing. When they join forces with the Supreme Saint, the Transient Light Saint and the others are no match for them. That's right. Look, the sacred sun of reflection is about to lose. The Supreme Sacred Sun is too strong. Many of the onlookers discussed animatedly. Suddenly, someone shouted. At that moment, the Supreme Saint Sun had completely suppressed the Transient Light Saint Sun. The terrifying fist force pressed toward the Transient Light Saint Sun like an avalanche. The Sacred Sun couldn't hold on any longer. The Supreme Saint punched him in the chest. The Sacred Sun screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body exploded and he was blown off the fighting ring. Ah, damn it! The Sacred Sun of Reflection roared. Being blasted off the battle platform meant that he had lost. He no longer had any fate with the Zongzi position, and he was truly unwilling to accept this. After the Supreme Saint Sun defeated the Transient Light Saint Sun, his body flashed and he charged toward the Yen Kong Saint Sun. Boom! A terrifying fist force crushed toward the Yen Kong Saint Sun. Although the Yen Kong Saint Sun tried his best to block it, the difference between him and the Supreme Saint Sun was too great. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He was severely injured. The Saint Sun Yen Kong had been defeated. Song of the Green Lotus Sword, sword shaking the world, die. Ouyang Qingxiang shouted, and the dazzling sword light sent Holy Maiden Xuetan flying. Holy Maiden Xuetan had been defeated. All of a sudden, only Saint Sun Ji Xia was left on the sacred sun's side. He was struggling to hold on in Lu Ming's hands, but his defeat was only a matter of time. The Supreme Holy Sun's gaze swept across Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang, and a sinister look suddenly flashed in his eyes. His body turned into a golden light and rushed toward Lu Ming, then he threw a punch at him. The Supreme Holy Sun had suddenly launched a sneak attack on Lu Ming. Furthermore, his first move was a killing move. If Lu Ming was hit by this move, he would at least be seriously injured or even crippled. The Supreme Holy Sun was still extremely afraid of Lu Ming. In his opinion, although Lu Ming's current ability was not as good as his, the speed of his improvement was too fast. At this rate, it would not be long before Lu Ming surpassed him. The reason why Supreme Move and the others had called for this meeting in advance to decide on the Zongzi position was entirely because they were afraid of Lu Ming. They were afraid that Lu Ming would surpass the Supreme Holy Sun in the future. This feeling made the Supreme Holy Sun extremely uncomfortable. In the past, he had always been high and mighty, suppressing the other holy sons and holy daughters. The other holy sons and holy virgins seemed to be just a foil to his existence. However, Lu Ming's radiance was about to surpass his. This made him extremely jealous of Lu Ming. He would not allow any Heaven's Pride expert to be stronger than him to exist in the Kongxian sect, nor would he allow anyone to be more talented than him. If there were, he would get rid of them. Therefore, the Supreme Holy Sun seized the opportunity to attack Lu Ming and cripple him in one move. Paragon Universe, you're despicable. Ouyang Qingxiang shouted. Lu Ming was still fighting with the Saint Sun Ji Xia. They had not completely defeated the Saint Sun, but the Supreme Saint had already attacked Lu Ming. He was simply despicable. At this moment, Ouyang Qingxiang attacked without thinking. She used all her strength and turned into a beam of sword light. She appeared between Lu Ming and the Supreme Saint. Then, she used the rest of her strength to set up a layer of defense. However, at the crucial moment, Ouyang Qingxiang did not gather much power. How could she block the Supreme Saint's attack? Boom! The Supreme Holy Sun's golden fist force landed on Ouyang Qingxiang's body and broke through her defenses. The violent force landed heavily on her body. Ouyang Xiangxiang was sent flying, and her blood splattered in the air. Fragrant. Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather caught her, and his powerful divine power continuously flowed into her body. Ouyang Xiangxiang's face was deathly pale, and it was obvious that she was severely injured. Supreme Universe, die! Lu Ming shouted in anger. The divine power that exploded was stronger. The spear's light was like a mountain, shaking the sky and earth. It whipped Saint Sun Ji Xia's body and sent him flying off the fighting ring. In this way, the sacred Sun of Reflection and the other three were all defeated, leaving only 3 people in Lu Ming's group. There were still 4 Supreme Holy Suns. Boom! Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand, his fighting spirit soaring to the heavens. His cold killing intent erupted without any restraint. Despicable. Lu Ming said coldly. Humph. The Supreme Holy Sun snorted coldly and stared at Lu Ming with an unfriendly look. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. The Supreme Holy Sun's 3 subordinates appeared beside him and stood in a line. Kang Chong and Lu Jia appeared beside Lu Ming, glaring at the Supreme Holy Sun. The situation has been settled. One of the elders shook his head. It seems like the Supreme Saint will definitely win this time. There's no more suspense. The Supreme Holy Sun will become a Zongzi. This is completely within my expectations. It's a good thing I've already joined the Supreme Holy Sun, haha. The scene was noisy. Some people were happy, while others were sad. The other Holy Sons and Holy Virgins factions all had unsightly expressions, while those from the Supreme Holy Sun's faction were ecstatic. They all thought that the situation was already set. Lu Ming and the other two were the only ones left. They were no match for the Supreme Holy Sun. Lu Ming, do you still want to continue fighting? I think you'd better get out of the fighting ring on your own, or you'll have to make a move. The Supreme Holy Sun said coldly, looking at Lu Ming with disdain. I'll get off the fighting stage as well. However, I'll make you kneel in front of me before I get off the fighting stage. Lu Ming said coldly. You want me to kneel before you? Ha ha ha. The Supreme Holy Sun laughed crazily. After a few laughs, his expression changed to one of ferocity. Originally, I could have let you off if you rolled off the fighting ring yourself. But I've changed my mind. I want you to kneel in front of me and lick my shoes. The Supreme Holy Sun said coldly, and the aura on his body became even more violent. Bang! Bang! The Supreme Holy Sun walked out step by step. His entire body was covered in golden divine power, looking extraordinary and mighty. The violent aura kept pressing down on Lu Ming and the other two. With every step he took, his aura grew stronger. Lu Ming stood there unmoving. However, Kang Chong and Lu Jia could not resist and retreated continuously. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The Supreme Vajra, Kang Chong, Lu Jia, both of you retreat to the edge of the fighting ring. At this moment, Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Kang Chong and Lu Jia. What? The two of them were stunned. You guys retreat to the edge of the fighting ring. Leave this to me. Otherwise, I won't be able to take care of you guys when the battle starts. Lu Ming said. This, Kang Chong and Lu Jia hesitated for a moment, then nodded. They moved and arrived at the edge of Zhang Tian. They knew that given their abilities, they could not help Lu Ming at all. Instead, they would only drag him down. Hee, Lu Ming, it seems like you're really confident in your ability to fight me alone. The Supreme Holy Sun glanced at Kang Chong and Lu Jia and sneered. Then, he suddenly took a step forward and rushed toward Lu Ming, throwing a punch. Boom! The golden fist force seemed to have split the void in half. It was as huge as a small mountain and was crushing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming was still in the form of the green-armored ancient god. With a shake of his long spear, he pressed down on the Supreme Holy Sun with the force of Mount Tai. In the process of suppressing it, Lu Ming's cultivation exploded to the limit of the 9th stage true god realm. Boom! The spear and the golden fist force collided in the void, creating a deafening boom and scattering the energy in all directions. The two of them triggered countless tiny spear lights and chi, which bombarded the fighting ring. The fighting ring shook violently, and runes appeared on it, forming a large array to block all the chi. However, everyone's eyes were wide open. Through the light that filled the sky, they watched every move on the field. Buzz! Buzz! In the light that filled the sky, the two figures trembled and staggered back. Lu Ming and the Supreme Holy Sun both retreated. The difference was that Lu Ming retreated more, while the Supreme Holy Sun retreated less. However, this scene still caused a huge uproar. People were shocked. Lu Ming could actually resist the Supreme Holy Sun and force him to retreat. This was something that the other Holy Suns could not do. Lu Ming's cultivation base is at the peak of true God. He's been hiding his abilities. He is indeed at the peak of true God realm. When he was fighting with the Holy Sun Ji Xia, he only revealed his cultivation of the 8th tier of true God realm. Now, when he is facing the Supreme Holy Sun, he only revealed his cultivation of the peak of the 9th tier of true God realm. But, even if he's at the peak of the 9th stage of true God realm, his combat power is too terrifying. You should know that the Supreme Holy Sun's cultivation is at the 6th stage of celestial deity realm. The scene was in an uproar, and the Supreme Holy Sun's face turned grave. Lu Ming, so you've been hiding your cultivation level. But this is your limit. You're dreaming if you think you can fight me with this level of cultivation. Supreme Divine Fist. The Supreme Saint let out a long howl and waved his fists. The speed at which he swung his fists was much slower than before. It was as if he was pushing a mountain. However, a loud rumbling sound could be heard in the void. It was as if the entire void was being pushed and pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming could feel a few terrifying fist forces pressing down on him. Divine Dragon Phenomenon. Lu Ming's hands moved at an alarming speed. 2 nine-clawed divine dragons appeared in the sky. They were 10,000 meters long and looked very lifelike. However, in the next moment, another 9-clawed divine dragon was formed next to the two. The third one. At that moment, Lu Ming had broken through his limit. In such a state, he had actually condensed the third divine dragon phenomenon. 3 9-clawed divine dragons that were 10,000 meters long pounced toward the Supreme Holy Sun. It's the Tianhong Saint Sun's divine dragon materialization technique. As soon as the divine dragon phenomenon appeared, it was recognized. It's really the Tianhong Saint Sun's divine dragon materialization art. Lu Ming can actually cultivate the divine dragon materialization art. He actually has the divine dragon bloodline in his body. The scariest thing is that he's much stronger than the Tianhong Saint Sun. The Tianhong Saint Sun has only condensed a 6-clawed divine dragon, while the Lu Ming Saint Sun has condensed a 9-clawed divine dragon, and 3 of them at that. Terrifying. He's simply unfathomable. Everyone present was deeply shocked. Break. The Supreme Holy Sun let out a long roar and pushed his fist force, constantly bombarding the 3 divine dragons. Another terrifying tremor erupted in the sky. The 3 9-clawed divine dragons and the Supreme Holy Sun let out a deafening roar that seemed to be able to split the sky. Whoosh. Whoosh. In such an intense confrontation, Lu Ming also used the 3 apocalyptic strikes to attack the Supreme Holy Sun with all his might. The terrifying spear radiance was aimed at the Supreme Holy Sun's vital parts. At the same time, the 9 ice chains would also try to wrap around the Supreme Holy Sun. It could be said that Lu Ming had used all his means. Their cooperation was flawless, and their destructive power was shocking. For a moment, he was actually on par with the Supreme Holy Sun. Lu Ming's abilities have become stronger. The sacred Sun of Reflection's face was extremely dark. Lu Ming's current combat strength had already surpassed his. If he were to fight Lu Ming, he would most likely be no match for him. The others were also silent. Lu Ming's abilities had far exceeded everyone's expectations. He could totally compete with the Supreme Saint. Divine grade divine energy. The divine energy that Lu Ming controls is definitely divine grade divine energy. Someone muttered. Of course, I don't need you to tell me that. It must be divine grade divine power. However, divine grade divine power can't be this strong. With the cultivation of peak true God, he can fight with the Supreme Holy Sun. Secret skill. He must have mastered some amazing secret skill to increase his combat strength. It's so terrifying. I can see that he has already used several secret skills. He's definitely an unparalleled genius. It's a pity that he's given too little time. If he were given a few more years, the Supreme Holy Sun would definitely not be his match. Many people were convinced by Lu Ming's combat strength. At the same time, they could also guess why the person behind the Supreme Holy Sun had proposed to compete for the Zongzi position. They must be afraid of Lu Ming. The Supreme Martial Artist's expression was ugly. The stronger Lu Ming was, the more fearful he was. Qian Kun still has a trump card that he hasn't used. This time, Qian Kun will definitely win. Grandmaster Dong coldly snorted in his heart. At that moment, the Supreme Holy Sun let out a long howl. Lu Ming, you're not weak at all. You're qualified to see my ultimate move, Supreme Vajra, die. The Supreme Saint Sun roared. His body burst out with even more dazzling golden light and started to swell. In the blink of an eye, the Supreme Holy Sun's body had grown to 200 meters tall. His entire body was golden, like an ancient invincible giant. This was one of the Supreme Holy Sun's strongest secret techniques. When he transformed into the legendary Supreme Vajra, his combat strength would skyrocket. Originally, Lu Ming had transformed into a green-armored ancient god and was 100 meters tall. But now, the Supreme Holy Sun Supreme King Kong was twice as tall as Lu Ming. It's the secret ancient technique of the Supreme Clan, the Supreme Vajra. I heard that the Supreme Saint Clan's ancient secret technique, the Supreme King Kong, is extremely difficult to cultivate. No one from the Supreme Clan has successfully cultivated it for many years. I didn't expect that the Supreme Saint's son would be able to successfully cultivate it. His talent is indeed amazing. Many people around the fighting ring exclaimed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Suppressing the Supreme Holy Sun, crush them. The Supreme Holy Sun roared. His fist was as heavy as a mountain, and it was aimed at Lu Ming. Boom! 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 Lu Ming saw a huge golden fist pressing down from the sky. The entire space shook violently. Roar! Lu Ming let out a roar that sounded like the roar of an ancient god and swept his spear out. Clang! The long spear and the Supreme Holy Sun's golden fist collided. Terrifying sound waves spread in all directions like water ripples. Buzz! Lu Ming's long spear shook violently as if it was about to be shattered. Lu Ming's 100-meter-tall body trembled and he retreated continuously. Thump! Boom! The 100-meter-tall body stepped on the fighting ring with a loud bang. The fighting ring kept shaking. Lu Ming had to take more than a dozen steps back before he could stabilize himself. Lu Ming, you're defeated. Kneel down. The Supreme Holy Sun roared and looked down at Lu Ming. His huge fists pressed down on Lu Ming, trying to force him to kneel on the ground. Do you think you're the only one who can get bigger? Get bigger too. Get bigger. Get bigger. Lu Ming shouted and his body rapidly grew in size. Lu Ming's body turned into 200 meters tall and the scales all over his body turned green. Lu Ming didn't hold back any longer and immediately turned into a green-armored ancient god. Boom! The spear struck out and clashed with the Supreme Holy Sun. The sky trembled and the two figures retreated. The two of them both retreated a dozen steps. What? Holy Sun Lu Ming was still holding back earlier. It's really too shocking. Lu Ming's transformation into a green-armored ancient god shocked even more people. Initially, everyone thought that Lu Ming had already reached his limit and could not be any stronger. However, Lu Ming did not seem to have any confidence. As his opponents grew stronger, so did he. The Supreme Holy Sun used the secret technique, Supreme Vajra, and turned into a 200-meter-tall giant. Lu Ming had also transformed into the green-armored ancient god. Damn it! The Supreme Saint roared, his heart trembling. His eyes were filled with fear. Yes, he was deeply shocked by Lu Ming's endless means. He was also afraid. No, I must win today. I must kill this brat. I must kill him. The Supreme Holy Sun roared in his heart, and his eyes revealed a ferocious look. Initially, he was not supposed to kill his opponent in this match. However, he did not care anymore. He had to kill Lu Ming no matter what. With his backing, so what if he killed Lu Ming? Who would punish him for a dead man? Kill! The Supreme Holy Sun roared and waved his fists, charging toward Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He charged at the Supreme Holy Sun as well. The two huge figures collided and fought each other. The two of them used all their strength to suppress each other. Boom! Boom! The two of them fought on the fighting ring, and then they fought from the fighting ring to the sky. This battle lasted for more than 100 moves. Bang! The Supreme Saint punched Lu Ming's shoulder and penetrated it. Green scales and flesh flew everywhere. However, Lu Ming's long spear had also pierced the Supreme Holy Sun's abdomen, directly piercing through his abdomen and blasting a huge hole. Tragic. The battle was extremely intense. From the start of the battle until now, both of them knew that their combat strength was equal. Only by fighting head-on could they have a chance of winning. It was to see who was more ruthless and had a stronger will. The two of them didn't care about their injuries. Before they could recover, they started fighting again. Next, both of them were hit, and their injuries worsened. However, the two of them didn't care. In their eyes, there was only one goal, and that was to defeat their opponents. Lu Ming, at the side of the fighting ring, Ouyang Xiangxiang, Yu Linglong, and the others were watching nervously, their hands tightly clasped together. They naturally hoped that Lu Ming would win. Meanwhile, the Supreme Being and the supporters of the Supreme Saint were also very nervous and hoped that the Supreme Saint would win. Therefore, most of them held their breath and stared at the two figures, waiting for the final result. Damn it, this kid actually has such strong strength. The more the Supreme Saint fought, the more shocked he became. Lu Ming's strength, patience, and ruthlessness had all exceeded his expectations. I will definitely win. My cultivation is at the 6th level of the celestial deity realm and my divine power is strong and condensed. He, on the other hand, is only at the peak of the true God realm. I don't believe that I can't beat him with my divine power. I will exhaust him to death. The Supreme Holy Sun thought to himself. Unfortunately, he was destined to be disappointed. Lu Ming had the measure formula on him and he had stored a large amount of divine power. He was not afraid of anyone. The two of them exchanged more than 200 moves. At this point, the Supreme Holy Sun's divine power was gradually losing, while Lu Ming was still as lively as a dragon and a tiger. This is bad. Lu Ming is a monster. If this goes on, Qian Kun will be defeated. I must stop him. The Grand Master felt a sense of foreboding in his heart, and then he roared, "Stop!" Hearing this voice, the Supreme Holy Sun wanted to retreat and stop the battle. However, Lu Ming would not let him retreat so easily. Lu Ming quickly followed, his long spear constantly stabbing at the Supreme Holy Sun, making it impossible for him to retreat. Seeing this, a ferocious look flashed in the Supreme Being's eyes. A powerful aura erupted from his body and pressed down on Lu Ming and the Supreme Holy Sun. He said in a cold voice, "Lu Ming, I told you to back off. Did you not hear me?" However, just as the Supreme Martial Artist's aura was about to burst out, Ouyang Qingxiang's grandfather also moved. He burst out with his aura and cancelled out the Supreme Martial Artist's aura. Therefore, Lu Ming's figure only paused for a moment before he continued to attack the Supreme Holy Sun. The autarchs are moving? What are you doing? They're having a competition, and no one has the right to interfere in the process. Ouyang Xiangxiang's grandfather, Yu Wuya, coldly said. Who said I wanted to interfere? I just have something to announce. The Supreme Martial Artist said. What's the matter? Just tell me. Yu Wuya said coldly. Today's battle was too brutal. The two of them are still in a draw and both of them are seriously injured. It won't be good for them if this continues. I suggest that we end it with a draw today and fight another day to prevent them from hurting their origin energy. The Supreme Martial Artist said. His eyes glowed with a cunning light. As long as they stopped fighting now, he would have a way to let the Supreme Holy Sun win the next time. He could even make Lu Ming disappear forever so that he would not be able to compete with the Supreme Holy Sun. Ha ha, what a joke. Old man, you're too shameless. Everyone can see that the Supreme Universe's divine power is running out and he's about to lose, but you actually said it was a draw and said it was for our own good. I spit on you, you're so shameless. Lu Ming was really angry and he cursed. He had seen many shameless people, and Supreme Movement was definitely in the top 5. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Kneel down, Lu Ming, what did you say? What did you just say? Zhizun Dong was so angry that his entire body was trembling. His hair and beard were standing on end, and his eyes were burning with rage. Lu Ming actually dared to scold him in front of so many people. This made him furious and he wished he could slap Lu Ming to death. Not only are you shameless, but you also have bad hearing. Didn't you hear me when I said you're shameless? Lu Ming did not give the Supreme Being any face and directly mocked him. There was no need for Lu Ming to give face to such a shameless person. Brat, you don't know your place. You're simply going against your superior. I'll kill you. The supreme martial artist roared in anger and slapped Lu Ming. Zhizun Dong was a divine king, and his strength was astonishing. With a palm strike, the entire sky darkened, and a palm print covered the sun. However, Wuxia was constantly watching the movements of the supreme martial artist. As soon as the supreme martial artist moved, Wuxia also made his move. A beam of sword light soared into the sky and slashed towards the palm print of the supreme martial artist. The palm print was directly split apart, and the sword light and the palm print turned invisible. Wuxia, what are you doing? This kid is lawless and arrogant. I want to kill him, and you want to stop me? Supreme martial artist Dong roared. Nonsense. Lu Ming is right. You're so shameless. Can't I scold you? In my opinion, he did a good job scolding them, and he enjoyed it. What crime is there to be guilty of? Wuxia laughed coldly. The Grandmaster was furious. However, this time, those senior statesmen who had previously helped the supreme martial artist did not stand up to help him. Supreme Being Dong was indeed a little shameless. Did he think that the others were fools? It was obvious that Supreme Universe was no match for him and was at a disadvantage. It was simply too shameless for him to announce a draw. The other doyens would never do such a thing. Without any help, the Supreme Martial Artist could no longer do anything. At this time, the battle between Lu Ming and the Supreme Saint was still ongoing. However, Lu Ming had already gained the upper hand. The more they fought, the more the Supreme Saint's divine power was consumed and it was getting harder and harder for him to hold on. However, Lu Ming's attacks were still as fierce as before, like a storm. Bang! Lu Ming's spear swept across the Supreme Being's body. Half of the Supreme Being's body exploded, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. Supreme Martial Artist Dong staggered backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body rapidly shrunk to the size of a normal person. He had used up a lot of his divine power and was severely injured. He could no longer maintain his Supreme Vajra body. Now that he had returned to the size of a normal person, his abilities were much weaker and he was no match for Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming's long spear pressed down like a mountain range. The Supreme Being used all his strength to resist, but the outcome was already decided. As the spear pressed down, the Supreme Martial Artist's body trembled. Kneel down! Lu Ming shouted. His divine power gushed toward the spear like a tide, making the spear extremely heavy and constantly pressing down on the Supreme Martial Artist. No, the Supreme Saint shouted hysterically. He did not want to kneel, but he could not resist Lu Ming's suppression. Bang! The Supreme Holy Son's body trembled and he knelt on the ground. CSISI, gasps rang out in the crowd. Their eyes were filled with deep shock. The Supreme Saint had actually knelt down. He was suppressed by another person and knelt on the ground in front of everyone. If one did not witness this scene with their own eyes, it would be hard for one to believe it. The Supreme Holy Son could be said to be the legend of this generation in the Kongxian sect. He was the strongest prodigy and was considered the best candidate for the future sect leader. He was a figure who could compete with the prodigies of the three overlord forces. But now, such a figure had been defeated by someone, and the person who had defeated him was a new disciple. All of this was simply a legend. Lu Ming, I'm going to kill you, die. The Supreme Saint's son howled madly. His eyes were blood red as he struggled madly, exuding a terrifying killing intent. You're just a loser, you're looking for death. Lu Ming said coldly. He took a step forward and beams of spear radiance burst out, piercing the Supreme Holy Son's body, adding to his injuries. At the same time, the spear in his hand continued to press down, pressing the Supreme Saint's son to the ground like a toad. Buzz. Then, Lu Ming took a step forward and came before the Supreme Holy Son. His body began to shrink to the size of a normal person and he stepped on the Supreme Holy Son's face. The Supreme Saint roared madly. This was a great humiliation, and it was even worse than killing him. He was stepped on by Lu Ming in public. Lu Ming, that's enough. The Grand Master roared in anger, his eyes revealing a cold killing intent. If Wuxia had not stopped him, he would have already killed Lu Ming. Old man, you have no right to speak. That's right, didn't you say just now that if I were to defeat Universe Master, your name would be written in reverse? Now, what should you be called? Lu Ming sneered and mocked. Ha ha ha, not bad. Supreme Move. No, I can't call you Supreme Move now. I should call you Supreme Move. Ha ha ha, this name is really awkward. However, it suits you quite well. Wuxia laughed out loud, extremely carefree. You guys, the Supreme Martial Artist's face was flushed red, and he could not wait to grind Lu Ming's bones into dust. Alright, that's all for this competition. Right at this moment, the calm voice of the Dragon Boat Mountain rang out. Previously, Dragon Boat Mountain had been watching coldly from the side. Now that everything was over, they finally stood up and spoke. Dragon Boat Mountain spoke. Supreme Movement and Wuxia coldly looked at each other, snorted, and retreated. Get lost. Lu Ming chuckled and kicked the Supreme Holy Son in the face, sending him flying. Lu Ming was the only one left on the fighting ring. Alright, according to the rules, Lu Ming is the winner of this round. Dragon Boat Mountain announced. Alright. At the side of the fighting ring, some people were cheering loudly. They all belonged to Lu Ming's faction and Ouyang Qingxiang's faction. Especially Yu Linglong, Wu Zifeng, and the others, they shouted especially loudly and were very excited. The people from the Supreme Saint Sun's faction, the Floating Light Saint Sun's faction, the Zhixia Saint Sun's faction, the Yan Kong Saint Sun's faction, and the Shuatan Saint Daughter's faction all looked terrible. Some people had gloomy expressions, some were sighing, and some were already thinking about how to seek new support. According to the previous rules, Lu Ming was the one who helped Ouyang Qingxiang in the contest. Therefore, since Ouyang Qingxiang is the winner this time, I hereby announce that Ouyang Qingxiang is the future Zongzi and my successor. The Dragon Boat's Mountain announced once again. The scene suddenly fell silent as everyone's eyes were focused on Ouyang Qingxiang. Congratulations, Ouyang Zongzi. Lu Ming stood on the fighting ring and cupped his fists. Congratulations, Ouyang Zongzi. Then, those from Ouyang Qingxiang's faction and Lu Ming's faction congratulated Ouyang Qingxiang. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Dragon Boat Mountain's goal. As for the other factions, they unwillingly congratulated Ouyang Qingxiang. After the congratulations, Dragon Boat Mountain announced that they would hold a conferment ceremony for Ouyang Qingxiang, and the entire sect celebrated. As for Ji Zun Dong and the others, they had already left with the Supreme Saint Sun. The title ceremony lasted for 3 days before it ended. After this incident, Lu Ming's reputation had reached its peak. It had even surpassed the Zongzi, Ouyang Qingxiang. Everyone knew that Lu Ming was very talented. Even if he was not a Zongzi, he would definitely be the true overlord of Kong Xian's sect in the future. Even if Ouyang Qingxiang really became the sect leader, her influence would not be higher than Lu Ming's. Therefore, in the days that followed, a large number of people began to join Lu Ming's faction. Although Lu Ming did not become a Zongzi, the power of his sect grew stronger and stronger. Of course, there were also many who sided with Ouyang Shangxiang. After all, she was a Zongzi who would be in charge of the Kongxian sect in the future. In just half a year, a large number of people had sought refuge with Lu Ming and Ouyang Qingxiang. Many of these people belonged to the other holy sons and holy virgins. The two's forces had skyrocketed and had far surpassed the Supreme Holy Sun and the Transient Light Holy Sun. Just like that, another few years passed. These few years, Lu Ming had been focused on cultivation and polishing his foundation. It was worth mentioning that Qiu Yu's progress was lightning fast. She had broken through 2 realms in a row and was not far from the 9th stage of True God. As for Qiu, ever since it had devoured the bronze altar fragment in the ancient god world, it had been in a deep sleep and had not woken up. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating when he suddenly opened his eyes. Immediately after, runes appeared on his body. They were densely packed and slithered around his body like small snakes. Dark Dragon Blood Curse, is Dragon Boat Mountain summoning me? Lu Ming frowned. The Dark Dragon Blood Curse had always been a big issue in his heart. Senior Bone Demon, you still haven't thought of a way to break the Dark Dragon Blood Curse? Lu Ming consulted the Bone Demon. A few years ago, Lu Ming had asked the Bone Demon for advice on how to break the Dark Dragon Blood Curse. However, the Bone Demon did not give him any effective methods. It's difficult. This Dark Dragon Blood Curse is extremely mysterious. The sect leader of your Kongxian sect is definitely not ordinary. I'm afraid he has a big secret on him. Bone Demon's figure appeared on the scroll. Is there really no other way? Lu Ming muttered. It's a pity that I don't have any cultivation at all right now. Otherwise, I would have a way. Besides, I don't know the purpose of the dragon boat's blood curse on you. If I knew his purpose, I could also prescribe the right medicine and come up with a way to break it. Bone said. Lu Ming nodded. The only thing they could do now was to wait. After a while, the dark dragon blood curse on his body gradually faded away. At this moment, someone came to Lu Ming's courtyard. Holy Son Lu Ming, the sect master has invited you? The person who had just arrived was an inner court elder, and his voice was transmitted into the courtyard. All right. Lu Ming walked out of the courtyard, nodded, and followed the old man. Not long after, he came to a large hall and the old man retreated. In the main hall, the dragon boat mountain was waiting. Once Lu Ming arrived, the dragon boats sized him up carefully. The more they sized him up, the more satisfied they were. Dragon Boat Mountain, why did you ask someone to look for me? Lu Ming asked with a sullen face. He didn't have a good attitude towards Dragon Boat Mountain. Not bad, not bad. Lu Ming, the speed of your improvement has exceeded my expectations. Good, very good. Dragon Boat Mountain nodded repeatedly. You didn't ask me to come just to praise me, did you? Lu Ming said coldly. Of course not. What I want to say is that your cultivation speed is still too slow. Now, I'll give you 10 years. Within 10 years, you must reach the heavenly god realm. Otherwise, I'll activate the dark dragon blood curse and kill you. Do you understand? Dragon Boat Mountain suddenly said with a cold expression. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with killing intent. His cultivation speed was already extremely shocking, but the dragon boat's master still thought that he was slow and wanted him to break through to the heavenly god stage within 10 years. This was almost impossible. From true god realm to celestial god realm, there was a huge gap. Countless people were blocked on this gap, unable to cross it in their lifetime. Even some geniuses would need a long time to break through, as well as luck. Breaking through to the celestial deity realm in 10 years' time was virtually something impossible. How is it possible to break through to the heavenly god level in 10 years? Lu Ming said coldly. Lu Ming, this is your only option. If you can't do it, you'll die. Dragon Boat Mountain sneered. Creak, Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. If not for the fact that he was not a match for the Dragon Boat Mountain, he would have killed them on the spot. Lu Ming, find out the reason why he placed the Dark Dragon blood curse on you. At this moment, the Bone Demon's voice was transmitted into Lu Ming's spiritual sense. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, but he did not show it on his face. He looked coldly at the dragon boats and said, Dragon Boat Mountain, what's your purpose in casting the Dark Dragon blood curse on me? You don't need to know about this. Dragon Boat Mountain waved his hand. Dragon Boat Mountain, you don't dare to tell me your goal. I reckon that your goal is to harm me. If my guess is correct, after I break through to the heavenly deity stage, it will be of great use to you. As for me, it's very likely that I'll die. I'm going to die anyway. Rather than waiting to be used by you to death, I might as well be killed by you now so that I won't fulfill your wish. Lu Ming said coldly. You dare? Dragon Boat Mountain coldly shouted. What's there to be afraid of? At worst, I'll just die. Lu Ming shouted loudly, and a violent aura burst out from his body. He looked like he was going to fight to the death with the dragon boat. Alright, I'll tell you. Dragon Boat Mountain frowned and raised his hand. A powerful force dispersed Lu Ming's aura as he spoke coldly. Lu Ming's aura descended. Lu Ming, you're right. After you've broken through to the heavenly god level, I do need your help. There's no harm in telling you, I placed the Dark Dragon blood curse on you to nurture it. The stronger your cultivation is, the stronger the Dark Dragon blood curse will be. When you break through to the celestial god realm, the Dark Dragon blood curse in your body will be extremely powerful. I can use it to break a formation. Dragon Boat Mountain said. What formation? Lu Ming continued asking. Dragon Boat Mountain frowned, but he soon smiled and said, Rising Dragon Array. Alright, I've told you everything I need to tell you. Go on and work hard. Remember, you only have 10 years. If you can't break through to the heavenly god realm in 10 years, there's no point in keeping you alive. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He then turned around and left. As they watched Lu Ming leave, the Dragon Boat Mountain's eyes flashed with ferocity. Kid, you want to know my goal and find a way to break it? However, what's the use of knowing my purpose? He, hurry up and break through. When you reach the heavenly god realm, I'll regain my freedom. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2878 Searching for Materials. The dragon boat's sinister laughter reverberated in the Great Hall. Lu Ming had already left the Great Hall and quickly returned to his residence. Senior Bone Demon, do you know of the Rising Dragon Array? Lu Ming asked the Bone Demon as soon as he came back. Of course I know the Rising Dragon Array. Haha, so it's the Rising Dragon Array. I know what that kid is going to do. Bone laughed. Senior Bone Demon, do you know the true purpose of the Dragon Boat Mountain? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he asked. That's right. If I'm not wrong, the reason why the Dragon Boat Mountain placed the Dark Dragon blood curse in your body was to use you to refine the Dark Dragon blood curse and then use it to save someone who was trapped in the Rising Dragon formation. And I'm guessing that your sect master is no longer the real person. Bone said. It's not the real person. Lu Ming was surprised. That's right. His own soul has probably been destroyed long ago. Now, his body is occupied by someone else. If I'm not wrong, the person who occupied his body is the existence trapped by the Rising Dragon Array. He wants to use you to escape and regain his freedom. Once he succeeds, you will also die. Bone analyzed the situation clearly, as if he had seen through everything. It's actually like this. Lu Ming was stunned by the Bone Demon's analysis. Unexpectedly, the real Dragon Boat Mountain had already died long ago. The current Dragon Boat Mountain was only an existence whose body had been occupied by someone else. As expected, he didn't have good intentions. Lu Ming's gaze was cold. The Dragon Boat Mountain's goal was indeed to sacrifice him to save him. Senior Bone Demon, do you have any countermeasures? Lu Ming asked. Since I know his goal, I naturally have a plan to deal with it. We still have 10 years. Lu Ming, do as I say. First, we need to buy some materials and refine an array disc. Then, well, fight him. The Bone Demon said. Then, a series of material names appeared in Lu Ming's mind. These materials, Lu Ming was stunned. He had not heard of many of the materials that the Bone Demon had mentioned. Kid, hurry up and get these materials. Bone said. Lu Ming nodded and left the place. He also left Kong Xian's sect and headed towards Planet Thousand Spirits. Myriad Spirit Star was the gathering place of the entire Qin Tian Starfield's Chamber of Commerce. All kinds of strange materials could be bought here. After arriving on Planet Thousand Spirits, Lu Ming finally bought most of the materials he needed after many inquiries. However, there were still 3 kinds of materials that he had not bought. These 3 materials were extremely rare and precious. The 3 materials were the 9-clawed divine dragon's bone, the evil energy stone, and the desolate chaotic grass. The bone of a 9-clawed divine dragon? Where can we find it? Senior 9 Dragon has long passed away. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows. I wonder if the divine 9 Dragon cauldron contains the bones of a 9-clawed divine dragon? Lu Ming suddenly thought of the divine 9 Dragon cauldron. The divine 9 Dragon cauldron had been forged by the 9 dragons and the ancestral dragon with all their strength. It was just a little bit away from being promoted to a divine artifact, and was the natal magic weapon of the 9 dragons. Natal Dharma treasures were usually forged from one's own flesh, blood, and bones in order to display their strongest power. Back in the heaven realm, the divine 9 Dragon cauldron had been of great help to Lu Ming. However, ever since Lu Ming came to the primeval universe, his combat strength had skyrocketed. The divine 9 Dragon cauldron was no longer of any use to him. However, Lu Ming had never thrown it away. Instead, he had kept it. At this moment, Lu Ming waved his hand and the divine 9 Dragon cauldron flew out from a storage ring. Senior Bone Demon, take a look at these 9 cauldrons. Do they contain the bones of a 9-clawed divine dragon? Lu Ming consulted the Bone Demon. The Bone Demon flew out from between Lu Ming's eyebrows and stopped above the divine 9 Dragon cauldron. It studied it carefully. That's right. The 9 cauldrons contain the bones of the 9-clawed true dragon. The bones of the 9-clawed divine dragon are the foundation of the 9 cauldrons. Bone nodded. It really is. Lu Ming was also very surprised. He had only been guessing before, but he didn't expect it to come true. One could imagine that the 9 dragons had paid a huge price in order to refine this huge cauldron, and they had actually used their own bone armor to forge it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. In this case, Lu Ming was only left with 2 of the 3 most difficult materials to find. Lu Ming came to a place that was specially used to gather information. After some inquiries and paying a high price, Lu Ming finally found out the whereabouts of the last 2 materials. The evil profound stone is in an evil clan in the rushing void galaxy. I'll go to that clan first. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then, Lu Ming took the teleportation array and rushed to the rushing void galaxy. On the surface, the Luo family of the virtual galaxy was a normal cultivation family. However, they were actually an evil family. Their cultivation technique was extremely evil. They specialized in digging out the eyes of other cultivators to cultivate their evil technique. Lu Ming had also paid a huge price to find out this information from the organization that was investigating. Such a family doesn't need to exist anymore. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. After a long journey, Lu Ming arrived at the Luo family's residence. Boom! Lu Ming appeared in the sky above the Luo family's residence, his vast aura erupting. Who dares to appear in the sky above my Luo family? With a loud shout, a few strong men flew out. These few brawny men had peak true god cultivation bases. When they saw that Lu Ming was also peak true god cultivation bases, they instantly revealed ferocious expressions. Kid, who are you? Tell me the truth, or you won't be able to leave. One of the burly men shouted. He stared at Lu Ming's eyes with an evil and greedy look. He wanted to dig out Lu Ming's eyeballs to cultivate. The person who will kill you. Lu Ming said coldly. Then, a violent divine power surged towards the other party. Lu Ming's divine power was extremely strong. To the few burly men, it was simply a perilous situation. The divine power crushed over and the few burly men screamed in pain. Their bodies were crushed by Lu Ming's divine power and finally turned into ashes and dissipated in the air. He was also at the peak of true god. However, the other peak true gods were like ants in front of Lu Ming. How dare you kill my Luo family's people? A mere true god realm, you're looking for death. Kill him. At this moment, the entire Luo family was in an uproar. Powerful auras shot up into the sky. Powerful figures rushed up into the sky and headed for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He had long inquired about it. In the Luo family, the strongest was only a 4th-level celestial deity. There were only about 30 heavenly god-level powerhouses in total. Lu Ming did not take them to heart at all. Roar! Ancient god body! Lu Ming roared. He used his ancient god body and turned into a giant ancient god, charging at the Luo family experts. As the long spear was swung, a large number of Luo family experts exploded and died on the spot. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The desolate mountains. The Luo family's experts were completely vulnerable to Lu Ming. A moment later, Lu Ming left the Luo residence with a cold expression on his face. The Luo residence had already turned into a sea of fire and had been trampled flat. All the experts of the Luo family had been killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming would not show any mercy to this evil family. In the Luo family's core treasury, Lu Ming successfully found an evil eye stone. The evil eye stone was the Luo family's clan treasure, and it was easy to find. In this way, only the last type of desolate grass was left. The desolate grass was found in the desolate mountain range where the stellar river was. This was an extremely special mountain range. This mountain range wasn't located on a certain planet. Instead, it was the entire mountain range, floating in the universe. The mountain range was incomparably huge, and there were extremely terrifying domains on it. No matter what creature entered, it would be difficult for them to fly and would suffer great pressure. However, the desolate mountains were rich in resources and had many precious divine herbs. The desolate grass was an extremely rare and precious divine grass. Even in the desolate mountain range, it was very rare and valuable. It was a treasure that could not be bought with money. Therefore, many cultivators would come here to explore and search for treasures. Lu Ming sat on the starry sky warship and flew in the vast starry sky. A huge mountain range appeared in front of him. From a distance, it looked like a giant dragon was circling in the universe. The vast universe is truly wondrous, Lu Ming sighed. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed that there were streams of light flying toward the desolate mountains from other directions like meteors. Of course, these weren't meteors, but experts. Some of them sat on the space battleships, while others flew. To be able to use one's body to travel through the universe, one had to be at least a heavenly god. Buzz! All of a sudden, a figure flew rapidly from behind Lu Ming's warship. It was a burly man. He was very strong and muscular. He had a ferocious look. Get lost, you're just like an ant. Don't block the way. When the burly man passed by Lu Ming, he struck his palm at Lu Ming's interplanetary warship. Thump. The starry sky battleship was hit, and it trembled violently before flying out. Ha ha ha, the burly man laughed, glanced at Lu Ming in disdain, and then left. In his opinion, a person on an interplanetary warship was most likely below the level of a heavenly god. He didn't care at all. This guy, Lu Ming's gaze turned cold as he watched the burly man leave. In the end, he did not make a move. He continued to control the starship and flew towards the desolate mountain range. Why are there so many people? Lu Ming sized up his surroundings and revealed a strange look. Outside the huge desolate mountain range, there were many experts of different races floating in the air. The number was shocking. At a glance, there were no less than 10,000 people. In the past, although there were people who came to the desolate mountain range to search for treasures, there were never this many people. As they neared the desolate mountains, Lu Ming left the starry sky battleship and floated in the starry sky. Senior, may I ask what happened here? Why are there so many people? Lu Ming came to the side of a white-haired elder and asked with cupped fists. The others were not too surprised. Stage 9 True God Realm experts could already stay in the universe for a period of time. However, they couldn't cross the universe and fly from one planet to another. You don't know? The old man looked at Lu Ming in surprise. I don't know. Lu Ming shook his head. There's no harm in telling you. Recently, I heard that the Heart of Desolation has appeared in the desolate mountain range. That's why so many people have been attracted here. These people are all here to find the Heart of Desolation. The old man smiled, looking very familiar. The Heart of Desolation? Lu Ming had a puzzled look on his face. He had never heard of the Heart of Desolation. The Heart of Desolation. There's actually a Heart of Desolation here. Ha ha ha. The heavens are on my side. No, the heavens are on your side. Lu Ming, you must get the Heart of Desolation. The Heart of Desolation can completely replace the Desolation Grass, and its effects are several times better. The formation discs refined from it will be even more powerful. That way, our chances of success will be greater. After hearing about the Heart of Desolation, Bone laughed out loud in excitement. It's actually several times better than the desolate grass. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with intense anticipation. He had to succeed in dealing with Dragon Boat Mountain this time. Therefore, he had to obtain the Heart of Desolation. Young man, there are a lot of experts here. I can see that you're only at the peak of True God Realm. How about we form a team and go into the desolate mountain range to explore? The old man suggested. Form a team? Lu Ming's gaze flickered. That's right. Look, the others are also forming teams. I'm afraid it'll be very dangerous to enter the mountain range alone. The old man pointed to the front. Lu Ming looked ahead. There were already many people entering the desolate mountain range. They were all in groups of 3 to 5. All right. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and nodded. This elder's cultivation was only at the 3rd level celestial deity realm. Lu Ming did not think much of him. However, the desolate mountain range was extremely huge. If he were to search for the Heart of Desolation alone, it would undoubtedly be like looking for a needle in a haystack. If he were to form a team with others, at least the chances of finding the Heart of Desolation would be higher. That's great. Then let's find some more people and form a team to go in. The old man smiled and then went to greet the others. Not long after, the old man found another 6 people to form a team. The 6 of them were all at heavenly god level cultivation. Lu Ming was the only true god level. Sankei, why did you find a true god realm expert to go with us? If such a person goes in, wouldn't he be a burden to us? A woman in her 30s cast a cold glance at Lu Ming and said unhappily. This woman had an extremely seductive look and an amazing figure. However, she had an arrogant look on her face and looked down on Lu Ming. This little brother is a friend of mine. Everyone, please give this old man some face and let this little brother come along. The old man's name was Sankei, and he said with a smile. Since he's your friend, Sankei, I can give him face. But I have to say this first. After entering the desolate mountain range, if we encounter any danger, I won't care about him. We can't be dragged down by a true god realm trash. The seductive woman said. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He could not be bothered to argue with the other party. This woman was only a first-level celestial deity. Who knew what kind of mentality she had, looking down on a true god realm expert? The rest of them only cast an indifferent glance at Lu Ming and ignored him. To them, it was just a real god and they didn't need to care about him. If they were in danger, they could just abandon him. Good, good, good. Sankei laughed apologetically. The group of 8 then flew towards the desolate mountain range. Chapter 2881 Ill Intentions. There were extremely powerful domains in the desolate mountain range. The closer one was to the front, the stronger the domain. Therefore, if he wanted to enter the mountain range, he would have to enter from the rear end. After entering the mountain range, the effect of the domain would be greatly reduced. This way, he could slowly go deeper into the mountain range along the mountain range. Therefore, everyone entered the mountain range from the back. Lu Ming's group of 8 flew in from the rear. As soon as they entered the desolate mountain range, Lu Ming felt a powerful domain acting on his body, almost dragging him down the mountain range. They hurriedly circulated their divine power to resist the domains of the outside world and slowly descended to the ground. Roar! They had just landed when a loud roar rang out. It was a desolate beast. In the desolate mountain range, there were also many wild beasts. Some of the wild beasts were very strong, but this wild beast only had the strength of a 9th stage true god. A mere true god realm, trying to sneak attack. You're looking for death. The seductive woman shouted coldly. A sword light flashed and cut the wild beast in half. Then, she glanced at Lu Ming coldly as if to say that it was useless to see it. True god-level experts were so vulnerable. Lu Ming could not be bothered with this woman. In Lu Ming's heart, this woman was an idiot. Being ignored by Lu Ming, a cold glint flashed in the seductive woman's eyes. A mere true god actually dared to ignore her. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Follow me, Sankei said, and then walked in one direction. The group followed Sankei. Along the way, they were attacked by wild beasts from time to time. However, the level of the wild beasts here was not very high. Most of them were below the heavenly god realm. There were not many of them who had reached the heavenly god realm. They were not a threat to Lu Ming and the group and were easily killed. Half a day later, they were millions of miles deep into the mountain range. At this point, the domains of the desolate mountain range were already extremely astonishing. The pressure was getting greater and greater. At this point, let alone flying, even circulating divine power was somewhat difficult. At this time, they came to a huge valley. At this point, Sankei suddenly stopped. Sankei, why are you not moving? Do you even know where the heart of desolation is? One of the burly men asked. He. Sankei let out a few strange laughs and swept his gaze across Lu Ming and the rest of the 7 people. I don't know where the heart of desolation is, but I do know that you're going to die soon, he. Among the 7 of them, apart from Lu Ming, everyone's expression changed. Sankei, what do you mean? What are you trying to do? The seductive woman glared at Sankei. What are you doing? It's very simple, hand over all your treasures and I can leave your corpses intact. Otherwise, I can only feed you to the wild beasts. Sankei sneered. Sankei, you brought us here with ill intentions indeed. However, it's a little ridiculous that you think you can kill us." One of the burly men was much calmer than before. He spoke coldly and emitted a powerful aura. Fourth-level celestial deity. This burly man was a fourth-level celestial deity realm, even higher than Sank's third-level celestial deity realm. The burly man's powerful aura pressed down on Sankei, but Sank's expression did not change at all. In fact, the killing intent in its eyes became even stronger. "All of you, come out," Sankei called out. Buzz! Buzz! And NBSP whoosh. As Sank's voice rang out, a few figures suddenly rushed out of the valley. There were a total of 11 figures. They moved at an astonishing speed, like a stream of light. In a few flashes, they had surrounded Lu Ming and the rest. "Sankei, you set up an ambush here, you tricked us. Damn it." The seductive woman, the burly man, and the others all shouted with a crazed expression. At this time, no matter how stupid they were, they also understood what was going on. When Sankei asked them to form a team, it was a complete trap. He had already planned to let the others lie in ambush here to kill and steal. They had been tricked. "It's him." Lu Ming's expression was very calm. However, when he saw one of the burly men, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The burly man was the one who attacked Lu Ming's warship from the Starry Sky battleship. At that time, Lu Ming did not pay much attention to it. He did not expect to meet this burly man again. Moreover, he was robbing him with Sankei and the rest. He had to admit that enemies were really bound to meet on a narrow road. "Hand over all your treasures so we don't have to do it ourselves," Sankei sneered. However, no one had moved. Who would hand over their treasures so easily? "Why are you talking so much nonsense with them? Just kill them directly to avoid any more trouble." The burly man who had attacked Lu Ming earlier shouted coldly, exuding a powerful aura. This burly man also had a fourth-level celestial deity cultivation. In reality, there were a total of 6 fourth-level celestial deity existences in this group. On the other hand, Lu Ming and the rest only had a fourth-level celestial deity. The difference was too great. "You want me to hand over the treasure? Dream on." On Lu Ming's side, the fourth-level celestial deity existence roared loudly and burst out with all his strength, charging to the side. Boom! He punched out, and his aura exploded, crushing forward. He wanted to kill a path of blood and escape. "You're looking for death." A few experts from the other side shouted coldly and attacked the burly man at the same time. These few people were all fourth-level celestial deity powerhouses. They joined forces to charge towards that burly man, displaying a terrifying killing move. It was impossible to fight against 3 people alone. 2 of their attacks landed on the burly man's body. The burly man let out a blood-curdling scream and was sent flying. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and was already half dead. The seductive woman and the others' faces were as white as snow, without a trace of blood. The strongest among them had almost been killed in one move. They had even less hope now. Many people revealed looks of despair. "Brother Sankei, brothers, as long as you don't kill me, I'll give you anything you want." The seductive woman had a charming smile on her face. She swayed her slender waist and looked at Sankei and the others with her charming eyes. "Bitch, get lost. This move of yours is ineffective against us. Attack and kill them." Sankei shouted coldly. In their line of work, they would never leave anyone alive, no matter how coquettish the seductive woman was. Boom! Boom! Sankei and the others immediately attacked. "Brat, I'll be the first to send you on your way." Sank's eyes glowed coldly as he stared at Lu Ming. He was the first to charge at Lu Ming. His blood-red claws were aimed at Lu Ming's heart. However, after a cold light flashed, Sank's body froze. His eyes were wide open, revealing a look of disbelief. His heart had been pierced by a spear. This long spear was naturally thrust by Lu Ming. Chapter 2881 Origin Energy Path, Sankei looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Then, it looked extremely frightened. He had never expected that Lu Ming, who was only at the 9th stage of True God Realm, would attack so quickly. He did not even see clearly how Lu Ming attacked, and the long spear in Lu Ming's hand had already pierced his heart. He knew that he had encountered a terrifying heaven's favorite, a heaven's favorite whose combat strength could not be measured by cultivation. Spare. My life. Blood kept oozing out of Sank's mouth as it tried to beg for Lu Ming's mercy. Let's go. Lu Ming said coldly. With a shake of the long spear, Sank's body was torn into pieces and he died on the spot. Brat, you're looking for death. The burly man who had attacked Lu Ming's interplanetary warship earlier roared and charged toward Lu Ming. His 4th-level celestial deity aura crushed towards Lu Ming violently, wanting to kill him. Divine Dragon Phenomenon. A deep voice came out of Lu Ming's mouth. Then, 2 9-clawed divine dragons appeared in the sky. The 9-clawed divine dragons slithered and pounced toward the other party. The 2 9-clawed divine dragons had 18 claws in total. They tore through the air with astonishing power. The burly man's expression changed drastically. His palm turned pitch black as he continued to slash out to clash with the 9-clawed divine dragon's claws. Boom! 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 Terrifying collisions continued to ring out. In an instant, they had exchanged dozens of blows. The burly man's expression changed drastically as he retreated. Blood spurted from his mouth as he was severely injured. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, even if he did not transform into the ancient god body, the power of the battle formula would be terrifying. It was not something that the other party could withstand. Roar! Roar! The 2 9-clawed divine dragons roared and continued to pounce at each other. Their dragon claws tore down and tore each other into pieces. How was that possible? Lu Ming had killed 2 experts in a row. The others were finally shocked. They exclaimed one after another, their faces full of disbelief. At first, they thought that Lu Ming was only at true god level and did not take him seriously at all. At this moment, Lu Ming's unbelievable combat strength made them extremely frightened. Good. The seductive woman and the others were also at a loss for words at first, but they immediately revealed ecstatic expressions. Lu Ming actually had such strong combat abilities. They were saved. Kill. Lu Ming changed his direction and shouted. Another 9-clawed divine dragon appeared in the sky. A total of 3 9-clawed divine dragons pounced on the others. At the same time, Lu Ming waved his long spear and cast the 3 apocalyptic strikes at another person. Pfft! The crescent-shaped spear light struck down and a 4th-level heavenly god expert was split into 2. Then, the 3 9-clawed divine dragons joined forces and killed the other 4th-level heavenly god. It was a complete suppression. Go, quickly leave. The others were shocked and retreated in all directions. Lu Ming rushed forward and killed 2 more people. He did not continue to pursue them. Soon, those people disappeared into the vast mountains. The seductive woman and the rest looked at Lu Ming with eyes full of shock and horror. They knew that they had met a peerless genius. Lu Ming, thank you for your help just now. I can't thank you enough. The few of them thanked Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you're really amazing. I was wrong about you. I apologize to you. The seductive woman turned her gaze and smiled sweetly. She twisted her slender waist and walked toward Lu Ming. She even threw him flirtatious looks, as if she was trying to seduce him. Lu Ming cast an indifferent glance at the other party. He could not be bothered to say a word and turned to leave. This woman had a snobbish look on her face. Previously, when she saw that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at true god level, she ridiculed him. Now that Lu Ming had revealed his amazing abilities, she immediately came to Lu Ming. It could be said that he was extremely shameless. Brother Lu Ming, where are you going? I'll go with you. The seductive woman quickly followed Lu Ming. Get lost. Lu Ming turned around and shouted coldly. His eyes were sharp and exuded a cold killing intent. The seductive woman's face turned pale and she stopped in her tracks, not daring to approach. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he turned into a ray of light, leaving the place. This Lu Ming must be from the Qin Heaven 13 clans. He might even be a peerless genius from the 3 overlords. We've been wrong. That's right. People like you have very high standards. You're delusional to think that you can seduce others with your kind. The others looked at the seductive woman with ridicule, making the seductive woman so ashamed that she wanted to bleed. After Lu Ming set out alone, he headed straight into the depths of the desolate mountain range. Along the way, there were more scares than dangers. Not long after, Lu Ming was already halfway into the desolate mountain range. At this moment, Lu Ming noticed that there were people constantly rushing in one direction. Lu Ming's gaze flickered and he followed in that direction. After flying for a while, a lake appeared in front of them. Many people were gathered around the lake. Everyone was staring at the lake. Could it be that the heart of desolation is here? Lu Ming pondered. Walala. The water in the lake churned and the waves rose to the sky, creating thousands of waves. Then, a shocking scene appeared. A violent explosion suddenly erupted from the bottom of the lake, blasting the water in the entire lake into the sky. The lake water splashed everywhere, revealing a dark cave below. Boom! 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 Tentacles suddenly reached out from the bottom of the cave. However, these tentacles weren't the tentacles of a living being. They were made of energy. After they were waved, they were like paths that paved the sky. There were a total of 81 fish. This is the path of vital qi, and the heart of desolation is inside. Only by stepping on the path of vital qi can one enter the cave and obtain the heart of desolation. Someone shouted. The heart of desolation is mine, let's go. Immediately, some people rushed towards the path of origin energy and landed steadily on it. Why can't I step on it? He asked. I can't either. I understand now. A Yuan Qi path can only accommodate one person. Once one person steps on it, the other person can't go up. Someone saw through the trick. Once one person in front of them stepped onto the path of vital qi, if others wanted to continue, they would be blocked by a powerful force and be stopped outside the path. One path of vital qi could only accommodate one person. There were a total of 81 paths, and only 81 people could enter the cave. However, there were thousands of people here. Out of thousands of people, only 81 people could enter. After thinking this through, everyone's eyes shone with a fiery light and they immediately made their moves. This path is mine, get lost. Someone exploded and launched a powerful attack at the person who stepped on the road. Although they couldn't enter, there was no obstruction to attack from the outside. Ah, arg. A blood-curdling screech rang out. One of the vital qi paths, a person with insufficient cultivation, was directly killed, and fresh blood splattered onto the vital qi path. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2882 Snatching a Path. A chaotic battle broke out. Thousands of people charged towards the 81 Yuan Qi paths and began a bloody battle. Get lost, this road is mine. You're the one who should get lost, die. The heart of desolation was extremely precious. Many people's eyes turned red as they charged towards the 81 paths of vital qi. Blood splattered everywhere, and miserable cries rang out continuously. People were constantly killed. A large number of true God Realm experts died in an instant. The remaining true God Realm experts finally sobered up a little and retreated in fear, withdrawing from the fight. They understood that with their cultivation, they could not compete with the gods at all. Otherwise, they would only die. However, there were still a lot of heavenly god-level figures, and the battle was even more intense. But among them, some people's cultivation was extremely profound, reaching 7th level celestial deity. 7th level celestial deity absolutely belonged to the top existences among these people. Divine power was like a tide. With a punch, a few people were killed. No one could stop it at all. There were more than a dozen of such people, and they directly occupied more than a dozen paths of vital chi. In addition, some 6th level celestial deity existences were also extremely terrifying. They suppressed everyone and also occupied some vital chi paths. The ones with the most competition were some 5th or 4th level heavenly deities. There were many people with such cultivation, more than 81 of them. They knew that they couldn't compete with those 6th or 7th level heavenly deities, so they gathered on the other paths of vital chi and the competition was very intense. Lu Ming did not make a move at first. After a while, he flew toward one of the essence chi paths. This true god realm brat actually dares to go up. He's really looking for death. You're too greedy, you won't live long. When some true god-level figures saw Lu Ming, they mocked him one after another, waiting to watch a good show. Lu Ming's speed was very fast and he had already arrived at the intersection of the path of vitality. A true god realm kid also came to join in the fun. He's looking for death. A burly man at the celestial deity realm threw a punch at Lu Ming, creating a terrifying whistling sound. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly and activated the fourfold combat power of the battle formula. His long spear vibrated and he lashed out at his opponent. The spear collided with the fist, causing a violent boom. The fist force of the burly man was instantly destroyed. His body trembled violently and he was forced to retreat, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. How is that possible? The others were dumbfounded. In particular, those true god-level people who ridiculed Lu Ming were dumbfounded. This kid, a true god realm, actually has such strong power. Kill him first. An elder shouted and charged at Lu Ming with a violent aura. This person was shockingly a 5th level celestial deity. Get lost, Lu Ming shouted and stepped forward. With every step he took, a 9-clawed divine dragon would appear above his head. After 3 steps, 3 9-clawed divine dragons had appeared above his head. The 3 9-clawed divine dragons roared furiously as they charged toward each other. At the same time, 9 ice chains appeared on Lu Ming's body and wrapped around his opponent, emitting a shocking cold air. Before he transformed into the ancient god body, Lu Ming had to use all his strength to fight against a 5th level celestial god. 3 apocalyptic strikes, moon cutting. He held the spear with both hands and struck out 3 times. 3 crescent-shaped spear lights slashed toward the other party. Boom! 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 The two of them collided and fought fiercely. For a time, it was difficult to separate. However, the others took the opportunity to rush toward the path of vital chi. Kid, I'm done fighting with you. After exchanging a blow with Lu Ming, the elder retreated and charged towards a path of vital chi. Lu Ming followed suit and engaged in a chaotic battle with the others. On this path, there were 3 5th-level celestial deities and 4 4th-level celestial deities. Including Lu Ming, 8 people were engaged in an intense battle. Those below the 4th-level celestial deity realm did not have much competition power at all and were unable to join the battle. The 8 people's battle royale turned into a chaotic pot of porridge. A few 4th-level celestial deity could still hold on a few times at the start, but very soon, they could not hold on anymore. One of them was struck in a vital part by a 5th-level celestial deity powerhouse and died on the spot. Moon slaying. Lu Ming's attack also severely injured a 4th-level celestial deity. The remaining 4th-level celestial deities retreated with grave expressions. There were only 3 4th-level celestial deities left on this path. Including Lu Ming, they were still fighting. Lu Ming had no intention of using the ancient god body. The ancient god body was his trump card and he could not use it easily. After all, there would be even more terrifying competition after he passed through this path of vitality. If they really encountered the Heart of Desolation, a bloody battle would be inevitable. Lu Ming only cast various divine skills, as well as 2 secret skills, the Ice Chain and the Divine Dragon Materialization Technique, to fight with the enemy. Such a huge battle consumed a lot of their divine power. After hundreds of moves, the divine power of the others was almost exhausted. However, Lu Ming was still full of energy. Lu Ming began to gain the upper hand. And at this time, those 7th level and 6th level celestial deities already entered the depths of the cave. The other 3 were getting anxious. This kid is too strange. He has the true God realm cultivation base, but he has such thick God power. Why don't the 3 of us join hands to defeat him? Then, we can decide the winner. What do you think? The other 3 5th level heavenly gods planned to join forces to deal with Lu Ming first. The 3 of them had the same intention and they hit it off. The 3 of them immediately joined forces and attacked Lu Ming. I originally wanted to keep a trump card, but I'll fulfill your wish now. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Then, his body expanded rapidly. He began to cast the ancient god tactic and transformed into the ancient god body. However, Lu Ming did not use the ancient god tactic with all his might, nor did he transform into a green-armored ancient god. He had only transformed into the 2nd level, the orange-armored ancient god. He was only about 30 meters tall. This way, he could save a lot of physical strength. Even after transforming into an orange-armored ancient god, Lu Ming's strength had increased by a large margin. He waved his long spear and sent a 5th-level celestial deity elder flying. Kill! Lu Ming strode forward and attacked the elder. Violent attacks poured down on the elder like a storm. How is that possible? The old man was shocked and tried his best to resist, but he could not stop Lu Ming. After barely blocking, he was killed by Lu Ming with 1 shot. Then, Lu Ming charged at the other 2 people. The other 2 people were shocked. They did not dare to stop Lu Ming and retreated far away. Lu Ming landed on the path of vital qi and strode forward. No one stopped him. Isn't he a little too strong? Is he still at the true God realm? Those true God realm existences in the distance were all dumbfounded, unable to react for a moment. Some people were extremely dejected. They were all at true God level, but the gap between them and Lu Ming was too great. They did not know whether they were too useless or Lu Ming was too abnormal. Lu Ming could not be bothered with these people's thoughts. He ran quickly and followed the path of the vital qi deep into the cave. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know if report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2884 Vital Energy. Day and night after Lu Ming ran on the path of vitality for a while, he used the ancient god tactic to shrink his body and return to his normal form. And NBSP maintaining the ancient god body was extremely energy draining, and he would probably need to conserve his energy in the upcoming battle. He did not know where the path of vital qi extended from. Lu Ming followed the path of vital qi and walked for thousands of miles before he finally reached the end. In front of him, a huge bubble was floating in the dark void. Tentacles extended from the bubble. These tentacles were the 81 yuan qi paths under their feet. Lu Ming's gaze was instantly attracted by something in the middle of the bubble. It was a crystal the size of a heart, emitting a brilliant light. The Heart of Desolation. Lu Ming knew that this was the Heart of Desolation. However, no one was fighting for it at the moment. Those who had entered earlier than Lu Ming were all standing at the end of the path of vital qi, looking at the Heart of Desolation with greed. These people shouldn't be able to enter. Lu Ming pondered and did not act rashly. However, before Lu Ming moved, the others did. An old woman who had entered at about the same time as Lu Ming had a glint in her eyes. She strode forward and pounced on the bubble, wanting to rush into the bubble and grab the heart of desolation in her hand. The others sneered as they watched. Bang! The old woman crashed into the bubble and crashed into it. With a scream, the old woman's body was pushed back, and her face was swollen, but her injuries were not serious. Stop dreaming. We can't enter this bubble now. One of them sneered. Why didn't you remind me just now? The old woman stared at the man with a dark expression. Who do you think you are? Why should I remind you? The man sneered. You, the old woman gritted her teeth. However, her cultivation level was not as high as the other parties, so she did not dare to say anything. What should we do? Are you just going to watch the heart of desolation in front of you and not get it? Someone said with a frown. The heart of desolation has appeared before. I've read about it in an ancient book. At this moment, a white-haired old man spoke. You've seen the records, so do you know how to get the heart of desolation? Someone's eyes lit up as he looked at the white-haired old man. I do know, so there's no harm in telling you. The white-haired elder smiled faintly. The balloon outside the heart of desolation is the vital chi day and night formed by powerful energy. The vital chi day and night will extend into 81 vital chi paths. Each time, only 81 people can follow the vital chi paths to come to the center. That's why I'm saying that there's only a way to get the heart of desolation when all 81 paths of vital chi have been stepped on by living beings. According to what you're saying, when all 81 paths of vital chi are occupied, this bubble, which is vital chi, will dissipate? Someone asked. In your dreams. Let me tell you, it's not possible to obtain the heart of desolation just because there's someone on all 81 paths of vital chi. It's not that easy to break through the vital chi day and night. You still need some luck. The white-haired old man said. What luck do you need? Old man, can't you just say everything in one go? Someone said impatiently. What's the hurry? Aren't there still many paths of vital chi that no one has yet to reach? The white-haired old man replied indifferently, then slowly said, if you want to break through the vital chi morning and evening, everyone has to join forces. Everyone on the 81 paths of vital chi has to join forces and inject their divine power into the vital chi morning and evening to activate the vital chi pillars. Only by activating 999 vital chi pillars can you break through the vital chi morning and evening. So it's that simple. I'll go first. A burly middle-aged man took the first step forward and arrived at the vital chi morning and evening. He placed his palm against the vital chi morning and evening, and rolling divine power continuously poured into the vital chi morning and evening. Buzz! The vital chi trembled slightly, and then a certain part of the body trembled more and more violently. Finally, a pillar of vital chi flew out. It was 100 meters long, like a long snake dancing in the air. Again. The middle-aged man roared and continued to pour in divine power. His vital chi vibrated day and night, and then 2 more pillars of vital chi flew out. There were a total of 3 pillars of vital chi, but there was no 4th pillar of vital chi. Come out, the middle-aged man roared angrily and continued to pour in Shen power. However, his yuan chi did not move at all. There was no reaction at all. So few, only 3? Many people looked at each other. That middle-aged burly man had a full 6th level celestial deity cultivation, but he could only activate 3 pillars of essence chi, making many people's hearts sink. To open the day and night vitality, 999 pillars of vitality were required. There were only 81 of them. According to this ratio, it was impossible to open the day and night vitality. The burly man himself was so ashamed that his face turned red. I'll do it. Following that, another middle-aged woman stepped forward and injected her divine power into the vital chi. This person was also a 6th level heavenly deity, but she could only activate 3 pillars of vital chi with all her might. This made many people's faces even uglier. Following that, a 7th-level celestial deity existence stepped forward. But the situation was not much better either. He could only stimulate 5 essence chi pillars. Everyone looked at each other. According to this ratio, even if all 81 of them went forward, the yuan chi pillars they activated would not exceed 300. It was impossible to open the yuan chi morning and evening. As expected. As far as I know, although the number of yuan chi pillars activated is somewhat related to cultivation, it is more related to talent. The higher the talent, the more yuan chi pillars activated. In the past, every time the Heart of Desolation appeared, people began to gather in the desolate mountains. Very few people could get it because they couldn't open the yuan chi morning and night. Only after the news spread, the geniuses of all the major forces gathered together and joined forces, could they open the yuan chi morning and night. The white-haired old man from before sighed. When the heaven's favorites from the big families and sects arrive, we won't be able to get anything. No matter what, we have to try. Next, let me do it. An old woman was unwilling to give up. She stepped forward and injected her Shen power into the vital chi of day and night. This old woman was the strongest and had activated 6 pillars of yuan chi, but it was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. The others were also unwilling to give up. They all stepped forward and poured in their divine power. One by one, pillars of vital chi flew out like long snakes dancing. However, some 5th-level celestial deity existences activated even fewer pillars of essence chi. Some had 2, and some even only had 1. Not long after, out of the 81 people, 80 of them had already made their move. Lu Ming was the only one who had not made his move. 80 people added up to only 251. He was a full 748 fish away from 999. Chapter 2884. One person. Everyone's faces turned ugly. Sigh, it still doesn't work, only 251. The difference is too great. We have no fate with the Heart of Desolation. I guess only many heaven's favorites can open the yuan chi day to day. Many people sighed. Some people glanced at Lu Ming and ignored him. Lu Ming was the only one who had not made a move. However, the crowd had already lost all hope. It was already a miracle that Lu Ming, a true God-level person, could make it this far. It would be considered good if he could activate even 1 pillar of primordial chi. Even if Lu Ming was young and had good talent, there was not a glimmer of hope for the remaining 700 or so. Forget it. Someone shook his head, withdrew his divine power, and retreated a dozen steps. Following that, the others shook their heads, retracted their divine power, and retreated. The pillars of vital chi also disappeared. However, no one left, because they were somewhat unwilling. This is interesting. I wonder how many pillars of vital chi I can trigger if I go forward. Lu Ming pondered in his heart and revealed a trace of interest. He then stepped forward. The moment Lu Ming moved, many people's gazes turned to him. This kid still wants to go up. We've already failed, and he still wants to go up. Is he an idiot? But speaking of which, it's not easy for this kid to come here with his true God realm cultivation. He might be a genius. No matter how much of a genius he is, how many pillars of vitality can he activate? 10, 20, even if he can activate 100, it won't help. That's right. Guess how many yuan chi pillars this kid can activate? How many? He's so young, yet he's able to reach this stage with such cultivation. His talent is definitely not weak. I'm guessing he can activate at least 10 yuan chi pillars, 10, maybe more. I'm guessing between 20 and 30. 20 to 30? That's too much. We only have 6 at most. The crowd discussed animatedly and began to guess how many pillars of vital chi Lu Ming would be able to activate. As for Lu Ming, he had already walked to the bottom of the pillar of vital chi. He stretched out his palm and placed it on the vital chi morning and evening. His divine power slowly surged into the vital chi morning and evening. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. The vital chi of day and night suddenly shook violently. Then, pillars of vital chi formed and danced in the air. 36 lines. The moment Lu Ming infused his divine power, he activated 36 pillars of vital chi. This. So many. The others were shocked. Just now, some people guessed that Lu Ming would be able to trigger between 20 to 30 veins. Some people felt that they had guessed too much and it would be difficult for Lu Ming to do it. He did not expect that Lu Ming would be able to activate 36 pillars of vital chi in an instant. However, this was not the end. Following that, the vital chi trembled even more violently, creating a loud rumbling sound like a huge wave. Hua hua hua. As the vital chi continued to flow, more pillars of vital chi burst out. This time, there were a total of 360 pillars. In addition to the previous 36, there were a total of 396. CSISI. The crowd gasped. Everyone's eyes were about to pop out, and they were speechless. 396 pillars. Everyone looked at the 390 pillars of vital chi dancing in the air and thought they were dreaming. My God, there are 396 of them. How is this possible? How is this possible? How can he trigger so many Yuan Chi pillars? Unbelievable, monstrous, monstrous. This man is a peerless genius. If 3 people like him came, they would be able to break through the Yuan Chi morning and evening. Some people shouted in shock. The number of Yuan Chi pillars that Lu Ming had activated alone was more than the number of Yuan Chi pillars that the 80 of them had activated together. However, their shock was far from over. Thump thump thump. At that moment, Lu Ming's ancient god heart started to thump loudly. Waves of ancient god aura flowed into Lu Ming's palm and into his vital chi. Buzz. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. The vital chi in the sky began to vibrate again. Then, pillars of vital chi flew out. This time, more than 300 Yuan Chi pillars were formed. In total, there were 700 of them. Still. Also, the others were completely dumbfounded. They were completely stunned. 700, a total of 700. In history, the most powerful genius had only triggered slightly more than 100 blood veins. How was it possible that Lu Ming had triggered 700 blood veins? How could there be such a powerful heaven's favorite in the world? The other 80 people thought that they had seen the world, but at this moment, they all felt like country bumpkins, people who had come from a poor and remote place and had not seen the world. 700, this should be the limit. The white-haired old man from before swallowed hard. His eyes were wide open, and his heart was thumping. However, the next moment, he almost fell to the ground. That was because the vibration of the vital chi had not stopped. Instead, it was vibrating even more violently. Could it be? Could it be that it can activate a pillar of vital chi? Some people said in a hoarse voice. 700 is not enough. Let's try the battle formula. A glint flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. He then started to activate the battle character formula. Lu Ming's comprehension of the battle formula was getting more and more profound. Now, he had a 50% success rate of activating the battle formula and multiplying his combat power by 4. Lu Ming's body exuded a powerful fighting spirit. Waves of powerful energy burst out from his body. Boom! 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 The vital chi shook even more violently, and then, pillars of vital chi rushed out. This time, a few hundred Yuan Chi pillars rushed out, filling the sky with Yuan Chi pillars. The number of Yuan Chi pillars had reached 999. The number of vital chi pillars required to open vital chi day and night was 999. Heavens! He alone has activated 999 pillars of vital chi. This is too shocking. This is unbelievable. The crowd was almost scared to death. At this moment, the vital qi trembled violently, rolling up a wave of vital qi that filled the sky. A terrifying roar was heard, and cracks appeared on the vital qi. It's about to open, the vital energy is about to open. The heart of desolation is about to be born. Many people shouted, their eyes burning with passion. This time, it was really beyond everyone's expectations. They originally thought that it was impossible to open the Yuan Qi at this time. They had to wait until the news spread out and the geniuses of the major forces of the Qin Heaven Star region gathered before they could open it. They never thought that they could open it now. Ha ha ha, the heart of desolation is destined to be mine. A 7th-level celestial deity expert roared loudly in his heart, his eyes burning. Although Lu Ming had activated 999 pillars of vital qi, in his opinion, Lu Ming was only talented. His cultivation and combat strength were nothing in his eyes. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.